Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Jujutsu Kaisen, the beginning of the Mangekyō Sharingan. Chapter 71. As time passed little by little, Shayuji slowly accepted the Penxing sect and began to build his own power by using the Penxing sect's money and power. Gojo Satoru stayed in the high school. He wanted to be a teacher. He was looking for his own partners to overthrow the pedantic senior officials. Although he could do it alone, since Shayuji turned black, Gojo Satoru knew that it was impossible for him to change the status quo by himself. On the other side, Ming and Juju Yuji were chatting. Although I have studied this aggregation method, it is more difficult than Shayuji's. If it were you, I think you would not let Shayuji be more suitable, at least you would be stronger. Juju Yuji said. No, it can be realized, a world with zero magic power. Ming said calmly. Whether it's Wu or Jia, what they're doing is wrong to me. Oh, tell me. Juju Yuji became interested. Jia, the so-called world with only jujutsu masters, that kind of existence is simply impossible to realize, because whether you can be called a jujutsu master is related to the probability of your genes. If Satori, just like Jia before, he is too naive. He can replace those old guys, but what should we do when he dies? Without his threat, many caring people will appear again. In the end, due to the incompatibility between the two ideas, it is conceivable that a war will break out. Wu Suo, the created world, exists because of his existence. If he is no longer there, it will naturally be like the moon in the mirror. Just empty talk. Quote. After Ming said these words, he picked up the water glass and took a sip of water, looking at Juju Yuki. Then I want to know what your solution is. Juju Yuji heard Ming's words and wanted to see what his solution was. She originally thought that Ming was here to punish him. After all, she was indispensable for Shayuji's darkening. After he told Ming about their conversation, Ming was not angry and wanted to cooperate with her. Ming's idea is to eliminate the curse from the whole world. Ming said nothing. Instead, he took 99 Yuji to the backyard of the villa. Yes, this was the villa Ming bought, and it was very luxurious. Darkness. A dark curtain fell. Juju Yuji was a little curious and looked at Ming. At this time, Ming's eyes had switched to reincarnation eyes. This was not the first time Yuki saw the purple reincarnation eye, but he was shocked every time. Just looking at it made her feel a lot of pressure, and even as a special level person, she felt a little short of breath. Heretic, the art of psychics, the heretical demonic elephant. Then a huge monster appeared. The monster's eyes were covered with a white cloth, and the monster roared as it appeared. Gulu. 99 Yuki couldn't help but swallowed his saliva when he saw this behemoth. The moment the heretic demon appeared, the huge sense of oppression surprised him even more than Ming, who saw the samsara eye for the first time. What is this? Cursed spirit. Juju Yuji looked at Ming in surprise. No, the heretic demon is a special monster from another world summoned by the samsara eye. Ming explained lightly. Is this your plan? Juju Yuji looked at Ming and said. That's right. Ming didn't explain, because no matter how many explanations there are, seeing is not believing. Divine power. Ming once again switched his eyes to the Mangekyō Sharingan, and then a cursed spirit appeared. This cursed spirit was the Earth God. And when the Earth God saw the huge heretic demon, he instinctively felt scared. He even went so far as to prostrate himself in front of the heretic demon. Ming looked at cursed spirit coldly, then jumped on the head of the heretic demon. Ming's reincarnation eyes bloomed with dazzling purple light. The heretic golem instantly spat out a chain condensed by spell power. Unlike Susanoo, this spell is more solid. Chains wrapped around cursed spirit's head. Then the cursed spirit was pulled away bit by bit, and finally the cursed spirit turned into mantra and was swallowed by the heretic demon. After swallowing the cursed spirit, the white cloth in front of the heretic demon's eyes fell, revealing a total of 9 closed eyes. One of them also showed signs of opening, but it was not fully opened. The aura of the heretic golem is even more terrifying. The monster you summoned is terrifying. But is it just based on it? Juju Yuki was a little confused. Yes, it's just him. After my experiments, the heretic golem only needs to swallow the power of the cursed spirit and slowly show its true posture. Ming sat on the head of the heretic golem and said with a smile on his face. A real gesture. How to explain it? To put it bluntly, the current heretic golem is just a body. Although it contains huge power, it cannot be activated and requires the power of the cursed spirit. But when the 9 eyes are fully opened, it is his true form. Ming said lightly. When the heretic demon is completely resurrected, I will borrow its power to cast a huge illusion. When Ming said this, Juju Yuji also jumped on the head of the heretic demon and interrupted Ming, who was speaking. Illusion. Super big. How big is it? Juju asked with a frown. A place that can cover the whole world. Ming said calmly. What? Are you sure you're not joking? Juju Yuji looked at Ming in surprise. Of course, I can't do it with my current strength, but with the help of the heretic golem's recovery, I can do it. There was a confident smile on Ming's face. But even so, this kind of thing is simply crazier than Sharyuji, and what is the meaning of doing this? What is the difference between killing them? Juju Yuji said. This is what I'm going to say next. First of all, to let them enter the illusion, they need to use the power of the heretic demon to cast infinite Tsukuyomi. After it is cast, the heretic golem will become its final form, which is the divine tree. When the divine tree is summoned, it will even take root. People who have experienced the infinite Tsukuyomi will be wrapped in the branches of the divine tree and absorb the world, and the curse power in people and cursed spirit. Ming said lightly. I estimate that in just 1 year, the magic power of this world will be completely absorbed by the sacred tree, the heretic golem. And the heretic golem will become the only creature with magic power in this world. At that time, I will be the solution open unlimited moon reading. Ming said calmly, and when he said this, Ming Yan also appeared a little crazy. Although he is not interested in world peace, it is a good way to pass the time for him. Although it feels crazy, it makes sense unexpectedly. Can Uchiha Mega believe you? Yuki Kuju asked. Of course, I have no selfish intentions in this ugly world. It's just my temporary pleasure as an Uchiha. So Jay can trust me, because this world has no value to me. Ming looked up at the space. Moon. Then let's have a happy cooperation. A pleasure to work with. In a remote mountain, 2 people were watching the scene in front of them. I'm curious how Miss Mei Mei knew this place. Ming looked at Mei Mei in amazement. It's a chance. I was short of money at the time and wanted to carry out some tasks, but you also know that compared with monsters like you, I need to be fully prepared. After the meeting, I found this clue in an ancient book. Mei Mei said calmly. After my investigation, I learned the origin of the Yamata no Orochi. It is said that there is an ancient special grade cursed tool where the cursed spirit is sealed. Mei Mei smiled. Oh, Miss Mei Mei is interested in that cursed tool? Ming asked curiously. Of course, I'm very weak in jujutsu. Cursed tool has improved me the most. Mei Mei had a smile on her face. The 2 slowly walked towards the altar. It's okay to give the cursed tool to Miss Mei Mei. I have no interest in that okay thing, but what makes me curious is why you chose me. Maybe Satoru is more suitable. Actually, it doesn't matter whether I choose you or Gojo Satoru, but Gojo Satoru has the Gojo family behind him. I don't want those senior officials to know everything about Yamata no Orochi until the end. After all, how can I earn something that I have worked hard for? We give it away. I think you do the same. Mei Mei said. That's right. Ming also didn't care. Then Ming came to an altar. The surrounding area was very desolate and there was a powerful barrier. Can it be destroyed? Ming looked at Mei Mei and said. No, legend has it that the Yamata no Orochi is the incarnation of disaster, and its spell power is very powerful. If it leaks out, it will probably be discovered immediately. Mei Mei said with a smile. Without any nonsense, he formed seals with his hands, and then a barrier similar to a tent fell down, covering the surrounding area. The rest is up to you. Okay. Mei summoned Susanoo, and then slashed down with a knife. The seal was instantly destroyed. The violent curse spread to all directions, and the scarlet curse instantly filled the entire barrier. Then a huge hydra appeared in front of the 2 of them. The tongue in the middle of the hydra is different from the other tongues. At this time, it speaks human words. Human, are you the one who let me out? Ha 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 ha, don't worry, I will give you a happy death. Obviously Yamata no Orochi doesn't want to let the 2 of them go, and of course Meiya doesn't want to let him go, such a great cursed spirit. But it's hard to find. Ming said nothing, looking at the cursed spirit in front of him with a playful smile. With his blood-red eyes fixed on the cursed spirit in front of him, Yamada no Orochi looked at Ming at this moment. I was shocked by the aura of curse with blood-red eyes. Who are you, human being? What are your eyes? Yamada no Orochi looked at Ming in horror. Genjutsu Sharingan. Ming didn't talk nonsense, his eyes glared, and his pupils surged with power. Mei summoned Susanoo. Even half-length Susanoo looked very small in front of Yamada no Orochi. Susanoo gathered 2 swords and slashed at Yamada no Orochi. In an instant, 8 heads were cut off by Ming, leaving only the head that controlled the body. As for the severed head, Yamada no Orochi also woke up from the illusion. Looking at Ming, fear flashed in Yamada no Orochi's eyes, and 8 heads grew out instantly. What? You can't even look at me directly. Ming looked at Yamada no Orochi playfully. Human, I admit that I underestimated you, but so what, you are still going to die here. Then the Yamada no Orochi's 9 heads were condensed with the attributes of wind, fire, thunder, lightning and poison and attacked, spitting life into Ming. Come over. Seeing this scene in front of her, Mei approached the mysterious Susanoo. After all, the power of this cursed spirit is very strong. Just the curse breath makes it impossible for the cursing power in his body to be mobilized normally. Not to mention fighting back. Seeing the attack in front of him, Mei pulled Mei into Susanoo, summoned the Karaso Tengu armor, and also summoned the 8-foot mirror. The attack instantly engulfed Susanoo, and the powerful attack even caused a trace of damage to the surrounding barrier. When the attack dissipated, Mei's Susanoo was not damaged at all. Looking at the 8-foot mirror in front of him, Yamada no Orochi's pupils shrank. Human, you are very strong. If you are willing to be my servant, I will give you even more terrifying power. Yamada no Orochi said seriously. Ha 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 ha, Ming suddenly laughed. This sudden smile confused Yamada no Orochi. Even Mei is a little curious. A mere cursed spirit, to be honest, is just a product of human beings' negative emotions. Even if it has wisdom and power over ordinary people, it is just a clown and wants to dominate human beings. The disdain and words in Ming's eyes, the Yamada no Orochi became furious instantly. I am going to kill you. Then you start giving it a try. What can you do with your attack just now? Ming sneered. A whirlpool slowly appeared around the Kamui, Yamada no Orochi, and then its head was twisted off again. Amaterasu then used terrifying flames to burn 8 heads instantly. Human, ha 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 ha, I am useless. I am immortal. The Yamada no Orochi has recovered here. Although the power of the spell is consumed, there is nothing wrong with it. Yamada Noriki said with a ferocious smile on his face. Stop joking, nothing is immortal. Every time you are resurrected, you are consuming the magic power. That is, as long as your magic power is exhausted, you can be killed. So I will play with you for a while. Ming with a sneer on his face, he extinguished Amaterasu. He didn't want to waste such a good sandbag. Although he looked relaxed, Ming was not careless. He originally thought that this cursed spirit would only be about 13 Sukuna fingers at most, but he did not expect that in terms of cursory power alone, it would be almost the same as his eternal kaleidoscope period. Moreover, although the attack just now was not up to Gojo Satoru's weakest hollow style, it was still very strong. Let you see, Uchiha, the power of God, Ming said calmly. The power of the spell began to boil, and Susanoo's appearance slowly began to improve. The last set of armor was put on his body. At a height of 100 meters, he is much taller than Yamada no Orochi. Ming looked down at Yamada no Orochi and crossed his arms over his chest. Come on, please me, insect. Ming looked at the Yamada no Orochi in front of him proudly. Mei saw Susanoo for the first time. At this time, he stood in Susanoo's crystal and looked at Susanoo. It was the first time that he felt the majestic curse in Ming's body at such a close distance, force. Even with just a hint of aura, he could tell that the power of the curse in Ming's body was far greater than that of the Yamada no Orochi in front of him. And the majestic giant in front of you can tell how strong this giant is just by looking at its size. Yama no Orochi, try to please me. Indifference flashed in Ming's eyes. Human, don't think that you can fight me just like this. Yamada no Orochi said in a gloomy tone. The eyes of the middle head turned purple-black. 8 heads, spitting out poisonous mist. The surroundings were instantly filled with purple poisonous mist. How is that possible? Ming looked at his palms that had turned black, and felt that the spell power in his body was rapidly being consumed. And Yamada no Orochi invaded Susanoo instantly. All 8 heads bit towards Ming's crystal. Mei was surprised, and Susanoo began to exert his strength, but the snake's entanglement became tighter and tighter. Ming's eyes were stunned, and the wings on Susanoo's back instantly opened, and Yamada no Orochi's body began to fall apart. Looking at the wreckage on the ground, Ming didn't stop. The controller Susanoo began to destroy the body of the serpent, and the Yamada no Orochi's suddenly broken body turned into many little snakes. Anyone with trypophobia would probably be scared to death here. You really know how to play tricks. Ming sneered. The controller grabbed Susanoo and began to fly into the sky. The 8th edition of Magatama, Susanoo began to gather many Magatama and began to bomb. Looking at the densely packed Magatama, the small snakes transformed into Yamada no Orochi began to gather together, and finally returned to their original form, and then used wind, fire, thunder and lightning to form a shield in front of them. Human, you forced me to do this, the Yamada no Orochi roared, and then its huge size began to shrink slowly until it shrank to normal human size. A cursed spirit in the form of a snake man appeared, which was very similar to the cursed spirit of the snake man they had encountered, but the snake man transformed by Yamada no Orochi was obviously more human. This image, Ming frowned and looked at the snake man with 9 heads. Although it was weird, it didn't surprise him, but the image of the snake head in the middle reminded him of a person. Sukuna, King of Curses. Yes, the current Yamada no Orochi is very similar to Sukuna from King of Curses. Human, I'm going to kill you this time. I didn't want to use this form. But it's worth killing you. Yamada no Orochi stared at Ming with his cold eyes. I see, you swallowed Sukuna's finger. No wonder you are so powerful. Ming's Sharingan discerned the familiar yet unfamiliar spell. So what? Yamada no Orochi said coldly, obviously he was afraid of Sukuna. Just when Ming mentioned his name, fear flashed in Yamada no Orochi's eyes. Domain expansion, the shadow realm embedded in the sky. Mei, Susanoo and Mei were instantly pulled into the field. Mei also cancelled Susanoo at this time. Because his Sharingan looked at the poisonous gas around him, he knew just now that the poisonous mist could ignore Susanoo's defense. So there is no need to maintain it. What should I do? Although Mei still looked calm, the solemn look in her eyes meant that he was not as calm as he appeared. After all, he is only a first-level magician, and there are not many people who can expand his field in today's world. Apart from Yuki Kuju, he is probably the one in front of him, and Gojo Satoru, who is called the strongest in the Jujutsu world today. There are many ways to deal with the domain, but the best way to deal with it is to expand the domain in the same way. The stronger domain will offset the weaker one. Ming explained calmly. So, domain expansion, infinite Tsukuyomi. A blood moon slowly rose into the sky, and a person with a halo like a reincarnation eye appeared behind Ming. And when Ming expanded his domain, the Yamada no Orochi's domain was covered, and disappeared without a trace in the next moment, surrounded by a purple star-like color. But the field that Ming expanded this time was completely different from the last time. How is it possible? Why can you do it? Open field. Yamada no Orochi looked at Ming with a horrified look. Yamada no Orochi looked at the figure in front of him, and couldn't help but think of the man who played with him as a toy. He was also so arrogant, standing on the shrine and looking down at him, with loneliness and disdain in his eyes. The man in front of him had the same look in his eyes, which made him feel angry, fearful and panicked at the same time. Are you surprised? Ming Yanzhong was disdainful. He was so surprised when he just casually showed off some tricks. It was really boring. Who are you and why are you so strong? Cursed Spirit's eyes flashed with fear. I'm just an ordinary Jujutsu master. Ming looked cold. Then he removed the domain. He did not use the power of the domain. He just offset the Yamada no Orochi's domain and cancelled it. Okay, I've had enough fun. Stop looking down on me. Yamada no Orochi said angrily, while a trace of clarity flashed in his eyes. Then a sword came out of his mouth. This sword is clearly the 10-fist sword that sealed Yamada no Orochi. It's also a straw sword. Oh, Ming looked at Yamada no Orochi with interest. Yamada no Orochi didn't talk nonsense. He stabbed out with his sword, and the majestic curse power emerged from the cursed tool. Interesting, Ming looked at the Yamata no Orochi that was rushing towards him. He dodged slightly to avoid the sword, and then kicked it out. The Yamata no Orochi blocked it with his sword. The cursed tool has the same nature as the monkey without cursed power. It seems to be called Tianamu, and it is more powerful. Does it also have sealing techniques? Ming looked at the 10-fist sword in Jujutsu Kaisen, and his eyes flashed. More than a hint of disdain. It's not the disdain for the cursed tool, but the disdain for the physical skills of the cursed spirit. Compared with Fushihaji, this guy only has comparable brute strength, no moves and no speed. Cursed spirit is cursed spirit, is this all after living for so many years? I thought to myself. The black flash figure flashed, and time came to cursed spirit's side, punching out with black lightning. Yamata no Orochi flew out instantly. Ming stood there, stretched out his palm, and a terrifying gravitational force appeared again, and the cursed spirit's body flew towards Ming quickly. Black flash, Ming punched with black lightning. The black flash produced by the majestic magic power, coupled with the effect of gravity, received the double attack, and the Yamata no Orochi was beaten to the ground and spewed purple blood. Yamata no Orochi clutched his abdomen in pain. Then he transformed into his own body again. In this state, he has extremely strong recovery ability and recovered in an instant. I've seen enough of your tricks, and I'm almost ready to put a collar on you. A hint of coldness flashed in Ming's eyes. The mysterious purple reincarnation eyes burst out with majestic power in their sockets, and then clapped their hands on the ground. The art of psychics, heretic demons. Psychic art, heretic demon. Ming slapped his hands on the ground, a burst of smoke passed, and a huge monster appeared in front of Yamata no Orochi. When the heretic demon appeared, it let out a terrifying roar. When Yamata no Orochi saw the heretic demon, he instinctively told him to run away, but he no longer knew how to escape. The human in front of him was too strong. Ming was now standing on the head of the heretic demon, looking down at Yamata no Orochi. Then the index and middle fingers were raised. Instantly appearing from the mouth of the heretic demon, 9 chains wrapped around the head of Yamata no Orochi. No, I surrender. Yamata no Orochi couldn't control that much at this time. He originally thought he could use the magic power to escape, but he found that the magic power couldn't be used, and it was sure that he would die. As a person who has survived in the world for so long, it naturally knows that he is immortal. As long as humans still exist, he will not die. He can still recover after tens of millions of years. But this time was different. He felt that it would die and be wiped from consciousness. Why do you think I should accept you? You are so weak. It would be good to make some contributions before you die. But there was no mercy at all. He controlled the heretic demon and started to drag the Yamata no Orochi, and in just a few seconds, the Yamata Orochi was swallowed. The heretic demon howled, and the terrifying pressure made Meimei's body tremble instinctively. At this time, the heretic demon had already opened its 3 eyes and evolved. It seems pretty good, Ming said with a satisfied smile on his face as he picked up the fallen fingers and the cursed tool. Needless to say, Ming threw him into the divine space, while cursed tool threw it to Meimei with a relaxed expression. Miss Meimei, it's for this cursed tool, but it's a little damaged. Ming said lightly, because there was a fist mark on the cursed tool at this time, which was left by Ming. It doesn't matter, my swordsmanship is not very good. Even if you give it to me, I will change it to another weapon. Meimei calmly put away the 10-fist sword with a smile on her face and returned to her usual calm demeanor. Let's go back, Miss Meimei, Ming said calmly. Ming Dong used his divine power to take Meimei and disappear. And Zieming left the heretic demon and disappeared in the same place. In Ming's home, the space-type jujutsu is really convenient, Meimei said with some envy. Ming didn't answer. Sitting on the sofa and looking at Meimei, she said, I think this matter will be noticed by the senior management soon. I don't know what Miss Meimei should do. I didn't expect Yamata no Orochi to be so powerful and able to break through the barrier. Meimei said lightly, watching Meimei struggling with herself. Ming Yi was a little helpless and said to himself, sure enough, beautiful women are smart. Miss Meimei can tell the higher-ups that I did this, and ask him to come to me, and you can also receive some bounty. Similarly, if I want to ask you for help, you can help me 3 times for free. Ming said calmly. 3 times. Meimei frowned. She rarely did such free things, but she thought of those greedy and selfish senior officials. He also nodded. 3 times is not too many, and the person in front of me doesn't need her help at all. It's probably just trivial matters and information. In fact, after the battle just now, he was also surprised. He did not expect that such a powerful cursed spirit could be defeated so easily. You must know that it was the legendary Yamada no Orochi. And that monster is so terrifying that it can swallow the cursed spirit to strengthen itself. And looking at Ming's look, he thought of something even more terrifying. Although the battle was fierce, there was not even dust on this man's clothes from beginning to end. This is no longer easy to describe. Ming doesn't know what Mei Mei thinks. Seeing Mei Mei nodding, she also started to issue an eviction order. Miss Mei Mei, I guess there are still things to deal with, so I won't keep Miss Mei Mei. Ming said lightly. Mei Mei didn't care and smiled coquettishly. He's really a charming guy. After saying that, Mei Mei didn't stay any longer and walked out with elegant steps. A few days passed in a hurry. At Gojo's house, Gojo Satoru looked at the old men with an indifferent expression. Is this your choice? Gojo Satoru said coldly. At this time, Zhao Wu, who was wearing casual clothes, no longer looked so funny. Yes, that thing must be brought back. One of the old men said. Oh, I understand, Gojo Satoru said as a powerful energy slowly gathered in his hands. Master, why? The old man stuttered, obviously shocked by Gojo Satoru's move. Since you know that I am the head of the family, you should understand that that guy is my best friend. Gojo Satoru said coldly. Before the old man could refute, his body was blasted to pieces by Gojo Satoru. The senior members of the Gojo family looked at each other. They were all surprised by Gojo Satoru's move. They looked at the decisive Gojo Satoru and said nothing. Keep your mouth shut quietly. Satoru, give me an explanation. Even if he is your friend, you don't need to be so protective. That thing is of great importance. A powerful voice sounded. A middle-aged man with similar appearance to Gojo Satoru walked in from the door. Dad, you're here. Gojo Satoru looked at his father, who was no longer cold and looked lazy. Looking at his father Gojo Satoru who was staring at him, he waved his hand and said seriously, first of all, he is not my friend, he is a close friend, the only 2 close friends in the world. Secondly, I am doing this for the Gojo family. Although I'm not interested in the head of the family, but I still have to do something. If that guy goes on a killing spree, no one can stop him. Hearing this, Gojo Satoru's father was stunned and then looked at Gojo Satoru with wide eyes, knowing that Gojo Satoru would not be humble or lie about such things. Does that person also include you, Satoru? Gojo Satoru's father said. He has always been proud of his son. As Gojo Satoru's father, his own technique is also the ancestral technique of the Gojo family, with no lower limit. But he doesn't have 6 eyes, so he can't use it, but the amount of magic power in his body is terrifying, not to mention Gojo Satoru, who has both 6 eyes and unlimited magic, plus his unparalleled talent. Gojo Satoru can even be said to be the strongest 6 eyes owner in history, but unexpectedly Gojo Satoru said that he cannot stop someone who is not a sorcerer family. Explanation. 6 eyes does not necessarily mean that there is no lower limit technique, and there is a technique that does not necessarily have 6 eyes. Having both does not necessarily mean that you can cast a reversal technique. And Gojo Satoru's strength is not only 6 eyes and no lower limit. And he has unparalleled talent. Impossible. With 6 eyes and infinite lower limit techniques, you are the strongest in modern times. An old man said in surprise. He would rather believe that Gojo Satoru was doing it for friendship than believe that anyone is stronger than Gojo Satoru. Impossible, you are the strongest, an old man from Gojo's family said in surprise. It's up to you whether you want to believe it or not, but you have to understand that I am not negotiating with you, understand? You can also deal with Mingya, but you will be removed from the Gojo family. Gojo Satoru said with a look of disdain. Then he stopped staying and turned around to leave the conference room of Gojo's house. Gojo Satoru's father gave these old guys a cold look and ignored them, and followed Gojo Satoru away. Satoru, is your friend really that strong? Gojo Satoru's father also didn't believe it. If other people from the big 3 sorcerer families could compare with Gojo Satoru, he might still believe it, but a completely ordinary person Ming, he was a little puzzled. Even though Gojo Satoru's other Sharyuji was a monster that had not appeared for 100 years, Gojo Satoru would not be allowed to say that. Yeah, it's very strong, especially that guy's awakened eyes. Now he can't even see through me. Gojo Satoru said calmly, his eyes a little indifferent. The following words were only spoken by Gojo Satoru in his heart, and his father did not hear them. How do you compare to him? I don't know, maybe both sides will suffer losses, and there is another possibility that I will lose. Gojo Satoru said indifferently. What? Gojo Satoru's father was completely surprised, and even a slightly ferocious look appeared on his face. This was not his fault, because when Ming had just defeated the Yamada no Orochi, the higher-ups began to investigate, and Gojo Satoru's father's he also got the news that Yamada no Orochi has these two Sukuna fingers. At that time, he asked Gojo Satoru a question. If you face Sukuna, what are your chances of winning? Gojo Satoru replied with only 3 words, I will win. These 3 words made Gojo Satoru's father ecstatic. Who is Sukuna? That was the strongest jujutsu master from thousands of years ago. Even though he was besieged by all the jujutsu divisions at the time, he still won in the end. You must know that jujutsu was at its peak at that time, and there were many people who could open up fields at that time. He could be called the strongest Sukuna of his time and was called the King of Curses. It's conceivable how powerful it is, but I, Jo Satoru, still have the confidence to defeat it. But the guy whom Gojo Satoru called his best friend actually made the arrogant Gojo Satoru say that. Oh, that guy's talent is not weaker than mine. There is really no guarantee of defeating him now, but who knows in the future. Even so, Gojo Satoru has absolute confidence in himself. From birth to now, he has never been its others chasing him, no matter what he does. But when Ming said that he appeared, Gojo Satoru was slightly threatened. This threat was something that even Sharyuji had never faced before. Just as Sharyuji said, both he and Ming were born strong, and the loneliness in their hearts had no one. Understand. What is a born strong person? It is a person who is chosen by fate. It is a person who is destined to become the strongest person in this world. People often say that man can conquer nature, and hard work can catch up with genius, but in Gojo Satoru's opinion, this is all nonsense. The power of his casual punch may be something that an ordinary person cannot achieve in his lifetime. From the first time Gojo Satoru saw Ming, he could tell that Ming was different from others. He had the same kind of aura. When Ming came out for the first time, he had only one feeling in his heart. If anyone in this world could defeat him, it would be the man in front of him. In fact, he had the same feeling when he met Gojo Satoru in Ming. At that time, he thought that someone with multiple Sharingan abilities might be stronger than Gojo Satoru, but he was wrong. Gojo Satoru's power was not just about his powerful spells, but also just like him, in battle, he has super potential for evolution. If 2 people fight to determine the winner, basically one will die and the other will be injured seriously, and he doesn't know who will die. Even with the all-encompassing Rinnegan, Mei still doesn't think he can completely defeat Gojo Satoru. The best outcome is that Gojo Satoru dies, he is seriously injured and then dies. So, Dad, you'd better advise those old guys who have their own evil intentions to go to them. Maybe the Gojo family will be ruined by them. Gojo Satoru said indifferently. He has nothing to do with those old guys. Good impression. Satoru, if that happens, why don't you stop him? Gojo Satoru's father frowned. He really felt a little worried about his son. Well, it's not that there's nothing we can do if we don't stop them. How should I put it? They were killed in the aftermath of our fight. Gojo Satoru said. Also, that guy has a very arrogant personality. If that guy has murderous intentions, I can't dissuade him. But don't worry, for my sake, Dad will not destroy the Gojo family. He will just kill those people. From a pedantic old fellow. Having said this, Gojo Satoru said nothing more and turned to leave. This era may surpass 1,000 years ago. Gojo Satoru looked at me blankly and said Gojo Satoru's back. Gojo Satoru's words hit his heart like a heavy hammer. On the other hand, Ming received a call from Gojo Satoru. Hey, what have you been busy with lately? Gojo Satoru's cynical tone sounded. You're talking about something again. If nothing happens, I'll hang up. Mei said angrily. Okay, you guy, it's true that we haven't seen each other for a long time, so there's no need to be so cold. Gojo Satoru said. Say it. Okay, the high-level people have already started taking action, and the Gojo family has received the news. Gojo Satoru said calmly. Oh, why did you ask me to let go of your Gojo family? But for your sake, it's okay. Ming's voice was playful. TCH, who would do such a thing? Gojo Satoru said with a disdainful tone. Then you care about this close friend of mine. Hey, you are so disgusting, I don't need it with my strength. Ming-Chi had goosebumps all over his body. How could you be stupid? I'm asking you to do me a favor. Gojo Satoru said angrily. Did you tell me earlier? It gave me goosebumps. Just tell me. Ming Zainai breathed a sigh of relief. If anyone from the Gojo family is involved in your matter, just kill them directly without looking at my face. Gojo Satoru said lightly. Tell me, why? Ming already knew that the Gojo family, the leader of the big three sorcerer families, would also participate when he got the news about Mei Mei. Originally, he had no intention of touching them for Gojo Satoru's sake. You also know that as the head of the family, I basically don't manage the Gojo family. This has led to some of those old guys to join the higher-ups. I don't have any good impressions of those guys, but it's not easy to take action directly. You just do things that are convenient. Directly, please help me solve it. I have already warned them anyway. Don't blame me if you are seeking death. Gojo Satoru had a smile on his face. Okay, I understand. Now that Gojo Satoru had spoken, he naturally agreed. Anyway, he wanted to teach those senior officials a lesson. On the other side, Gojo Satoru looked at his phone angrily. Then with a playful smile on his face, he looked at the address Mei Mei sent. There was also the money transferred by Gojo Satoru, and this address was the location of Ming Mei's villa. At this time in Ming's villa, Ming looked at the uninvited man sitting opposite with an ugly expression. The man's white hair towered into the sky, and his eyes were wrapped in white bandages. Why did you come here, Satoru? Looking at Gojo Satoru with a smile on his face. I found out after a little inquiry. Gojo Satoru lay on the sofa without caring. Next time, don't come without my permission. Ming said angrily. It depends on the situation. Maybe I'll come here more often if I smile and have nothing to do. Gojo Satoru said without caring about Ming's words. By the way, what are you dressing up like? Ming looked at the bandaged Gojo Satoru in front of him and his hair that stood on end. How about it? It's cool. Gojo Satoru pointed to his bandage. He was just about to change his glasses, so he replaced it with a bandage, but the effect was good, so that's all. Cool. Isn't it okay for you to be cool? How could your aesthetic become like this? Stay away from me, I'm afraid of being infected. Ming said with a look of disgust. Hey, you guy, don't complain about me every time, even when you wear glasses. You also know that my eyes can see things too clearly. What can I do? Gojo Satoru said with an annoyed look. Okay, it's up to you. Ming didn't say anything back. Looking at Gojo Satoru, who was getting closer and closer to the original, Ming was still a little kind. By the way, those old guys, will they let you take action? Ming said casually. Probably. After all, they are very scared of you because of what you did in the past. Gojo Satoru also said calmly. It's unimaginable that you would also work as a thug for those old guys. Ming said with a sarcastic look. Don't worry, I won't take action, just don't worry. Gojo Satoru naturally went to Daoming's refrigerator and took out the cake and ate it. Hey, your tone is very harsh, as if you are better than me. It seems that you are known as the strongest jujutsu master in the modern era, but you are a bit arrogant now. Ming mocked with a listless look on his face. How could it be? Before I defeat you, you have a share in who is the strongest. And I don't recognize the one who is the strongest, even if I am the strongest. Gojo Satoru said equally casually. Ming glanced at Gojo Satoru but said nothing. After a moment of silence, Gojo Satoru said calmly, Jay, how's that guy doing? Oh, it's good. I've been living a very prosperous life recently. I've gained a lot of weight, and there are many beautiful women around me, Ming said lightly. Oh, that's really good. Gojo Satoru smiled casually. Why are you envious? After all, my subordinates are quite obedient. They are not like those old guys in your family who are very thoughtful. Yeah, so you have to help me. That kind of guy is not helpful to the world, Gojo Satoru said. But compared to Jay, I envy you more. Sure enough, among the three of us, you are the one who enjoys it the most. Tisk, this is called contentment. But Wu, you have really grown up. I am very happy. Ming had a fatherly smile on his lips. Since Sha Yuji turned black, Gojo Satoru seems to have grown up and is no longer the child who doesn't think about anything. Go away, Gojo Satoru said angrily. Hurry up, come take a walk with me. Gojo Satoru stood up and walked out. Ming shook his head helplessly and stood up. He looked at Gojo Satoru's back and murmured, you look more and more like Jay before. Is it because this was Jay's previous ideal? Then Ming took Gojo Satoru to play here for a day. Even if Ming dislikes the arrival of his best friend, he can't just let Gojo Satoru wander around by himself. In the evening, Gojo Satoru did not stay here and planned to go back. But before going back, Ming stopped him and threw a note to Gojo Satoru. What? Gojo Satoru looked at the notes in front of him. Birthday gift, get out of here, Ming said angrily, then ignored Gojo Satoru and continued drinking coffee. Gojo Satoru smiled and disappeared from the room instantly. Gojo Satoru returned to the high school, lying on the bed and looking at his notes. These notes were some records about the open field. In fact, open fields and ordinary enchantment fields. Each has its own advantages and disadvantages. But there is no doubt that the open field is better. This guy has actually made it this far. It seems like he's going to be tired for a while. Gojo Satoru said, and then he just gathered the notes at his fingertips and turned them into ashes. At the other end, on the top of a tall building, a man wearing a monk's robe looked at the moon in the sky, his eyes full of complexity and nostalgia. Happy birthday, Satoru, the man murmured. Master Shiyu, you are here. Everyone else has already arrived and is waiting for you in the conference room. Two beautiful little Lolita said. This man is naturally Sha Yuji, and the two girls are the little girls he saved. Okay, let's go back. Sha Yuji touched their little heads with a gentle smile. The lonely expression just now had disappeared. Sha Yuji came to the building, looked at the people in front of him, and walked slowly on the stage. Lord Sha Yu, why did you summon us? A man looked at Sha Yuji respectfully. Then let's talk about the next plan. Dash. On the other side, many high-level officials gathered in the conference room. They were discussing matters, and a man spoke first. I sent someone to negotiate with Uchihame, but he refused, and his attitude was extremely bad. The man said with a gloomy look. Isn't this result certain? This is not the first time he has done this. It's simply more difficult to control than that guy from Gojo's family. An old guy remembered the way Gojo Satoru talked to him, with a look of disdain on his face, and threatened to kill him, but it was just a talk. Gojo Satoru didn't take action, but Uchihame was different, he would take action whenever he felt unhappy. Even very heavy-handed. HMPH, that little guy doesn't really think that becoming a special-level Jujutsu master means he is invincible. I think it's because he has a good relationship with Gojo's Six Eyes kid, so we don't dare to touch him. I think we need to negotiate further. Even though that little guy is not as powerful as the one from the Gojo family, he is a special one after all. A conservative said. HMPH, even if it is a special level, it can't compare with our positioning. And to put it bluntly, Yamada no Orochi has been sealed for 1,000 years and his strength is estimated to be no more than 10. Even if he has special strength, he is only the weakest. Don't forget that there were still Mei-Meis here. A hawkish old man said. In the corner, a faceless middle-aged man wearing a top hat showed disdain on his lips. 1 out of 10. How is it possible? Yamada no Orochi has strength far beyond its peak, but that Uchihame must be eliminated. At this time, Ming, who had just gotten off the plane, looked around coldly. With a sneer on his lips, he walked out of the airport little by little without saying anything. Walking towards the high school. Uchiha Ming, there is an adult who wants to see you. A man in black appeared in front of Ming and said arrogantly. Oh, lead the way. Ming had a sneer on his lips without any resistance. Follow the man in black out of the airport. The man in black was also stunned. He originally thought that this man would struggle, but he didn't expect to be so obedient, and the man didn't think much about it. Turning around to leave, Ming followed behind and looked at the man and secretly asked, "Are you an ordinary person?" Interesting. After walking out of the airport, a car appeared in front of the two of them. Ming opened the car and got in without any courtesy. Wait a moment, is there something wrong? Although the man in black is an ordinary person, he is also very arrogant as the spokesperson of the higher-ups. He does not look down on ordinary magicians. Although Ming is a special-level magician, he was rejected by the higher-ups after all, so he was not angry, replied. This driver, do you know the location? Ming tried to keep his tone calm. Of course I know. Stop talking nonsense. You can't afford to waste your time. The man sneered. He was not afraid that the underworld would kill him. After all, although jujutsu masters are powerful, there is one thing that prohibits killing ordinary people. Oh, it's nothing, I just want to say that you are no longer useful. Ming's eyes became cold. She glanced at the man slightly and closed the car window. The man's head suddenly disappeared, leaving only his body. Lao Gao with blood splattering. Let's go, Ming said calmly. Yes. Yes, the driver said with some confusion. Although he could see the cursed spirit, he was indeed an ordinary person. The people around who had just left the airport looked at this body, and the entire airport fell into a riot. About an hour later, Ming was taken to a shopping mall. It's really interesting. You don't really think I'm enlightenment. Is this like restricting me? Ming said lightly, then glanced at the driver and said, if you don't want to die, leave this area, the further away the better. Of course, if you can just leave this city and your chances of survival will be greater. After all, power is not that easy to control. After saying this, Ming got out of the car. According to the power of the spell, Ming had already locked his position. Sir, we have arrived, but Kazama has not followed. A jujutsu master said to an old man. It doesn't matter, don't worry about him for now. Bring Uchiha Mei here, I want to see who he is. The old man said with disdain. The reason why he set the location in this remote small city is because it has a small population. Not much, he just wanted to prevent Uchiha Mei from suddenly not resisting. It would not be easy to solve this matter in Tokyo. Yes, Master Zenin. After the man finished speaking, he immediately walked towards Ming. Ming also knew that someone was coming to find him, so he was not in a hurry. Come with me, the man said directly without any nonsense, and nodded. After a while I came to a room. You must be Uchiha Mei, my name is Zenin, and I am the ancestor of the Zenin family. The so-called adult said. Oh, why are you looking for me? Ming said with an indifferent expression. Hand over the 3 sukuna fingers on your hand. It is safest to hand over such dangerous things to us. Zeninji said coldly. Oh, you are talking about that kind of thing. It is indeed here with me. Ming said lightly. Looking at Ming's attitude, Zeninji was quite satisfied. After all, after the last negotiation, Ming beat him up before he could even say anything. But before he could be happy, Ming said with an indifferent expression, then let me ask you, why should I give what I got to you old immortals? You, don't forget that your special magician was given to you by us. Zeninji said angrily. Since he achieved his current status, no one has dared to talk to him like this for many years. Oh, who cares about that kind of thing? Just take it if you want it. I don't care, Ming said calmly. Okay, in that case, Uchiha Mei. Then on behalf of the Jujutsu world, I will execute you. Zeninji said gloomily, and the moment he said execution, many Jujutsu masters appeared in the room. And Zeninji also disappeared in place. Minga looked at the Jujutsu masters around him without any expression. He calmly took out his phone and checked the time. In a dark room, Zeninji looked at Ming with a gloomy face. Then take your time and deal with you. Ming stood up. Wanxiang Tianyan. A huge attraction appeared around Ming. Fire release, with earth life. Black flames appeared all over Ming's body like a hedgehog, attracting all the Jujutsu masters around him, and were finally burned up by Amaterasu. Some experienced Jujutsu masters stood up and ran out as early as Ming. And there are many Jujutsu masters hidden in this mall. Then let's play a game of cat and mouse, Ming sneered. Ming's body slowly blended into the underground. He came to the 3rd floor and looked at the Jujutsu master in front of him. Ming's eyes glanced at them, and their bodies and heads instantly. It was as if it had been chopped off by something invisible. Looking at the killed companions around them, the besieging Jujutsu masters began to run towards the crowd. How could Ming give them a chance? He raised his hand, pointed at the fleeing people, and activated the universal celestial yin, and they were instantly attracted. Then he was killed without mercy by Ming. Why is that guy so strong? It seems that we have to replan and let them go together, otherwise there will be no chance. This will make him defeat each other. Zenin, who was in the dark room at this time, said with fear, and with a drop cold sweat ran down his face. Run into the crowd, then gather on the first floor, and ask the people in the mall to surround him. He won't dare to take action. Zenonji sneered. A large number of ordinary people also appeared in Ming's position, surrounding Ming. The Jujutsu masters began to sneer. Ming Yan's eyes turned cold. He looked at the ordinary people in front of him and said coldly. I only give you 1 minute to get away from me, Ming said coldly. And those extraordinary people looked at Ming with disdain and ridicule. They were the people sent by Zenin to stop and restrict Ming. How could they get out of the way? Ming Sha lowered his head, his bangs blocking his eyes. Time also passes little by little. 1 second, 2 seconds. 1 minute is up. The time is up. If you don't want to leave, just stay here. Ming had a crazy smile on his lips. Also, this city will perish because of you. Ming's figure slowly flew up, the majestic power of the spell spread around, and the purple samsara eyes appeared in everyone's eyes. The time is up. I am no longer interested in playing with you anymore. Since you don't want to leave, then stay here completely. No matter you are innocent or forced, since you have made this stupid decision, then let the city will pay for you. Ming's body began to float, and the majestic spell power spread around like a tide. After hearing Ming's words, some ordinary people who worked for high-level officials showed panic on their faces. Jujutsu masters are above the rest, not to mention one of the 4 top-level Jujutsu masters today. And although this city is not big, at least their family members live there. No, some people who knew the inside story looked at the indifferent Ming and shouted loudly, while the ordinary people who were being used looked blank. After all, people who can fly are considered supermen in their eyes. Super, Shinra Tianzhong. A powerful repulsive force swept towards the surroundings, and the entire city began to destroy the surroundings with Ming as the center. After a few seconds, Ming looked at the disappearing building in front of him and the person who was chatting just now, and there was no trace of emotion in Ming's eyes. In fact, Ming did not destroy the entire city, but left a part of it, and that part was the ordinary people in the city. When dealing with Ming, although they wanted to use ordinary people to restrict Ming, they were not sure. Will they fall into a trap? They don't know much about Ming's abilities, so they don't dare to take risks. Moreover, the Jujutsu division is extremely powerful. If too many people die, even they, the higher-ups, cannot bear it. Therefore, except for the people in the shopping mall, the rest of the people were transported to the edge of the city. And Ming's Sharingan has already seen through all this. It's not that he can't destroy the entire city, but it's not necessary. Flying into the sky, looking down, the figure began to twist and finally disappeared from the place. While monitoring everything, Zenin looked at the surveillance equipment that had no pictures, and confusion flashed in his eyes. No, okay, sir, a frightened voice sounded. What's going on? Zenonji frowned. The frightened Jujutsu master just now took out a camera cursed tool tremblingly. While watching, a sound made Zenin feel like he had fallen into an ice cellar. I found you. Your Jujutsu is really interesting. Even I missed it just now. Is it a projection Jujutsu? Ming said coldly. Why are you here? It can't be so far away from the center. Wait, you can also teleport over long distances. Zenin said in horror. Oh, do you dare to deal with me without even grasping my information? You are really brave, Ming said calmly. Where are my men? Zenonji forced himself to calm down. Oh, I don't know, but I can show you. I don't know if you can see it. Ming stretched out his hand towards him, and Zenonji's body was sucked towards him. However, his subordinate did not make a move but collapsed on the ground when Ming appeared. There was panic in his eyes. Ming ignored it and took Zenonji to the sky above the city. Looking at everything in front of him, he couldn't believe his eyes, thinking that he was under Ming's illusion. Don't think about it, it's true. They died for you. How about it, don't you feel honored? Ming looked at the city that had been destroyed by him, nearly half of which was destroyed like a chicken. He said with the Zenin in his hand. How is it possible? Zenin knew that he regretted it completely this time. This guy was either a human or a monster. He was a representative of natural disasters. How big was half of a city? It was destroyed instantly. Seconds. By the way, you are a member of the Zenin family. This time the matter must be related to the Zenin family. It seems that I have to visit the Zenin family. The current head of the Zenin family is your nephew. No, this matter has nothing to do with the Zenin family. It's my own intention. Please let the Zenin family go. Only then did Zenin realize how stupid he was. Looking at the ruins of the city around him, he was afraid. Not only that, he was afraid that this god of death would go to Zenin's house, because he knew that the man in front of him would not be lenient. He was different from Gojo Satoru. Gojo Satoru could still restrict it, but it could be seen from this man's actions just now that he will be restricted by anything. Listen, actually I still like the way you were in control of everything just now. Zenin, I'll save my life first and tell the guys at the top. I'll give them time to prepare, otherwise it will be too boring. Ming Yi looked calm, said. Then sent a message to Gojo Satoru. There are indeed members of your Gojo family inside. They have all been killed. The rest will be left to you. Receive. Gojo Satoru also received news soon. Ming put away his cell phone and watched Zenin-ji lead him to leave the city with his divine power and reappeared in Tokyo. Ming didn't waste any time and threw him to the ground. Go, I only give you 1 day. Don't think about escaping. It will be the same no matter where you escape. Ming said coldly. Just get out of here. What Ming did was quickly reported. Although what was said in the news was covered up, how could those ordinary people completely believe it? You must know that even in a war, it is impossible to use weapons of that level. A city was destroyed by half, but they didn't know how to explain it. After all, they were just ordinary people. That guy Ming, he went a little too far. Gojo Satoru was also shocked by Ming's madness. He thought he would just kill some ordinary people, but he didn't expect Ming to be so ruthless. It can be said that he directly wiped out the city. The number of people who died was hundreds of times more than the casualties Sha Yuji had caused back then. Even though most of the people in the city had been relocated, there were still too many people who died. Even the government will find it difficult to suppress it in a short period of time. That's more than going too far. That guy is simply a lunatic. At this time, the old guys from the Gojo family said in horror. They finally knew they were afraid. I just got news that the Gojo family members are also involved in this kind of thing. Who asked that person to go? Gojo Satoru said calmly. Housekeeper, it's me. An old man raised his hand. Should I do it? Should you do it yourself, or should you wait until Ming investigates and do it? Gojo Satoru said calmly. The head of the family and the elders also did it for the family. Stop talking, I'll do it myself. The old man seemed to have aged several years. He knew that he had to die. Even if Gojo Satoru didn't take action, the man named Ming would do it. If he was killed at Gojo's house, if others kill him, the Gojo family will not be able to hold their head high. And even if Gojo Satoru goes to war with that Uchiha Mei, only the Gojo family's foundation will be destroyed in the end, and he will be the sinner by then. So the best way is for him to commit suicide. The old man didn't hesitate and started to take action. Gojo Satoru looked indifferent, stood up and left. What should we do? Let's talk. Didn't you say that this matter can be easily solved? An old man said angrily. This old man was the party advocating for peaceful negotiations. Now he looked at the few people on the opposite side who had become silent, said with an angry look. We misjudged Uchiha Mei's strength and madness. I think locating Uchiha Mei's behavior as curse user and then sending Gojo Satoru there will not only kill Uchiha Mei and regain Sukuna's finger, but also reduce casualties. An old man suggested that he was the representative of the Hawks. Hisano Sato was also the first person to suggest using violence to take back Sukuna's finger. Negotiation. No, I don't agree. Zenin-ji retorted with a panic look on his face. What did you say? Zenin, were you scared to death by that little guy? Sato Hisano looked at Zenin with an angry look. I don't agree with that either, Sato, said the senior man in a top hat who was also a member of the Kamo family. Sato Hisano looked at the man with anger and confusion. HMPH, Sato, you are too naive. I don't say whether Gojo Satoru will take action. To put it in perspective, even if the two of them take action, do you think Uchiha will fight where you want? Don't forget, Zenin, as I said, he has the ability to teleport over long distances, and although Gojo Satoru also has it, it is impossible for Gojo Satoru to successfully stop him when their strengths are about the same. At this time, the only high-ranking person from each faction sneered. And even if he were to stop him, the destructive power he showed would be enough to destroy the entire Tokyo. With that kind of destructive power, you wouldn't really think that guy would be weaker than Gojo Satoru, right? He's not worthy of being its special. Then what do you guys agree to do? Let this unstable factor always exist. Don't forget that guy, he won't be of much help to our senior management. Sato Hisano said. I think what Sato said is right. If it really doesn't work, if we can get Juju back, even if he takes 2 special shots, no matter how strong he is. Shut up, what do you know? Do you think that with more people, you can defeat that guy? At the level of Gojo Satoru and Uchiha Mei, having people around them will restrict them and reduce their strength, even if they are both special level 99 of them are not worthy of standing next to them. Zenonji sneered. Only when you feel the strong feeling of that guy at close range can you know what despair is. That huge city was destroyed in an instant, and most of the people have nothing to do. What does this mean? That is, it is far from his full strength. You know, if you really use your full strength, it is impossible to control it so finely. Sato slapped the table. Then what do you think we should do? Do we have to kneel down and apologize to him? A senior executive said angrily. There is only one way, to compensate that guy. No matter how you compensate, he has become so strong, what should you do? Hey, hand over that cursed tool. An old man sighed. What did you say? Shut up, what do you think you should do? Can you stop him? It's not just your stupidity and arrogance. Do you really think anyone is worthy of being called a close friend of Gojo Satoru? Who can suppress that monster? Even that cursed Sha Yuji, a spirit master, can't compare with Gojo Satoru. Do you think that guy is that simple? The dove-style old man became more and more angry as he spoke, and almost didn't take action directly. Sato Hisano didn't know that he didn't consider this matter well. But the cursed tool is very important. HMPH, it's useless anyway, and there's no use keeping it. Would you believe that illusory legend? Why don't you give that thing to that guy? Okay, agreed, agree, comma. There is one more thing, that is, we will not pursue the case that Uchiha Mei killed those ordinary people. This matter must be explained to those people, otherwise it will be very troublesome. Forget it, don't anger that guy again, this time it's just bad luck for us. On the other end, in a conference room, they looked at the information in their hands with expressions of surprise, horror, and even a hint of blind worship. Ha 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 ha, you are indeed Ming. No matter what you do, you don't play by the rules. Sha Yuji covered his eyes, feeling so happy for the first time since he became a curse user. Lord Sha Yu, that gentleman, I heard he is your good friend. No, to be precise, he is a best friend, the only 2 best friends in the world. Sha Yuji regained his composure, with a serious look on his face. Then can you please? It's impossible. If that guy really had that intention, he wouldn't have rejected me back then. He was probably offended. You should also remember one thing, I would rather fight Gojo Satoru than be cruel in front of that guy. Words, Sha Yuji said seriously. Why Sir Sha Yu? Asked the little girl adopted by Sha Yuji. Because Wu Hui is too lazy to take action because you are too weak, but if you say harsh words in front of that guy Ming, you will die. No exceptions, Sha Yuji said calmly. Everyone looked at Sha Yuji's eyes and felt the deep malice of this world. Why is the gap between people so big? After hearing Sha Yuji's words, they felt that their lives had never been truly in their own hands. Don't worry, that guy Ming won't take action just because you are cursed. He is a person with no sense of boundaries. If you don't offend him, he won't care. Sha Yuji said gently. At this time, Ming was in the high school. In the classroom, only he and Yaga Masamiki were sitting at attention. Ming, what you did is a little too much. Yaga Masamiki said with a serious face. Teacher, you told me that being a jujutsu master is not for others to watch. It is not only the burden on your shoulders, but also your own heart. Ming said with an indifferent expression. Oh, Ming, I can't help you, but I don't want my disciple to become a curse user anymore. Yaga Masamiki said with a headache. Don't worry, teacher won't. If those senior officials don't give me a satisfactory answer, I will let them know the consequences. Ming comforted Yaga Masamiki calmly. Then what will you do? They won't allow someone who can't control it. Yaga Masamiki looked at Ming. Keep killing. Ming's eyes did not change at all. Ming, are you the same as Jia's choice? Yaga Masamiki asked. No, teacher, I have my chosen path, and I will change the world, but at the same time, I have to live for myself. It doesn't matter to me what carelessness I have. Ming said lightly. Okay, I won't stop you. I know you can see more clearly than Wu. Yaga Masamiki stopped talking and took out a panda's cursed skeleton from behind. Thank you, teacher. Ming looked a little serious. This was his respect for Yaga Masamiki. He knew that Yaga Masamiki told him that everything was for his own good. Yaga Masamiki said nothing, but just took out a cute panda charm. Yaga Masamiki, at this time, took out a panda's cursed skeleton. The panda looked at Ming carefully, with a flash in his eyes. Ming was stunned for a moment when he saw this scene, and then looked at Yaga Masamiki with a smile on his face. Teacher, you succeeded. Teacher Shuren is the undisputed #1 in the field of curses. Yes, Yaga Masamiki also smiled happily. After all, it was very satisfying to be praised by his monster-like student. Since he has his own consciousness, he should have a name. I don't know what the teacher named him. Ming had a smile on his face. I haven't thought about this yet. Yaga Masamiki scratched his head. He tried several names but couldn't think of a name for it. Why don't we call it Panda? Ming looked at the cute little panda and said, rubbing its little head. The red panda seemed to understand and nodded happily. Okay, let's call it Panda. Yaga Masamiki said happily. Little guy, before that, let me give you a gift. Ming said. Later, there was also a pupil technique stored in little panda's soul. Teacher, it seems that this little guy is not that simple. He is not just conscious. Ming had a smile on his face. I really can't hide anything from you. Yaga Masamiki said. There was a flash of satisfaction in his eyes. Ming said nothing. I couldn't help but laugh at the cute little guy. About an hour later, Gojo Satoru came over with something. You are indeed here. Gojo Satoru barged in directly from outside and sat on the ground without any appearance. Then he pulled out a box and threw it to Ming. What is this? Ming opened the box curiously. There is a very small magatama inside the hotel. It is said that the cursed tool was passed down from thousands of years ago. I heard that this cursed tool is related to a secret from thousands of years ago, so it has been guarded by the senior officials. Even I am curious why those old guys would give this to you. Gojo Satoru said nonchalantly. Secret, why do I need such rags? Ming said indifferently, but still opened his Sharingan and observed carefully. He does have a strange power within him. What are you going to do next? Do you want to continue killing? Gojo Satoru lay on the ground and looked at Ming. Even Yaga Masamiki pricked up his ears and listened. How should I put it? This time the senior management can be said to be very sincere. Forget it, let's leave it to you. This is the path you chose anyway, so I won't interfere. Ming said helplessly. But, Sansai, teacher, are you sure that this guy Satoru can be a teacher? Mei said looking at Gojo Satoru who looked unreliable. What's wrong with me? You guy, why am I not a teacher anymore? Who is more suitable to teach and educate people? Gojo Satoru said with a look of dissatisfaction. Gojo Satoru is right. Gojo Satoru with 6 eyes is indeed very suitable to be a teacher. His 6 eyes are extremely sensitive to the observation of spell power and the insight into magic. For others, teaching requires experience, but for Gojo Satoru say, it's even simpler. Forget it, you have such a bad character, don't teach bad things to children. Ming stood up and waved his hand. Let's go now, don't you see Shoko? Gojo Satoru said calmly. Forget it, it's not like I won't see you anymore. Things here are over, I should go back and give those old guys a message. Forget it. If you dare to plot against me again, I will kill you. Ming said on his face. He said with indifference. Then he disappeared in place. He is really a willful guy. Gojo Satoru curled his lips. If you are willful, Satoru, you have no shame in criticizing others. Yaga Masamiki complained. But are you sure you want to pick up that child? Don't forget, you are his father-killing enemy. Yaga Masamiki asked again. Of course, if I see a few good prospects, I will naturally accept them, not to mention that the child's talent is not low. And I also found a few interesting little guys. Gojo Satoru said calmly. The senior executives were relieved to know that Ming accepted their cursed tool. They didn't dare to mess with that madman. At this time, the face of the man wearing the top hat was gloomy and terrifying. That thing was originally in his pocket, but the most important thing now is Sukuna's finger. It seems that Gojo Satoru must be used. It seems that the plan is about to start. But I didn't expect that this era not only has 6 eyes, but also knows the monster Uchiha Mei. It seems that the plan must be changed. The man murmured. At this time, Ming had returned to his home and started to implement his plan. Because Ming had already sent him information, it was said that it was still a special level, but it was subdued by Shaoyuji. It's really quick to start. Ming had a smile on his face. Forget it, according to the current heretic demons, some ordinary special level cursed spirits can no longer be improved. Ming said lightly. Naturally, Shaoyuji also got news about Ming. He didn't know why, but he was hunting cursed spirits like crazy during this period, and even had no less than 5 special levels. However, Shaoyuji didn't pay much attention to it, because some time ago, due to Ming's dealing with high-level officials and destroying the city, cursed spirits are now springing up like mushrooms after a spring rain. This also made Shaoyuji hate ordinary people even more. During this time, Shaoyuji had more and more people in the organization. Corruption at the top led many people to join his ranks. Gojo Satoru is also devoted to education. Ming means doing nothing for a day. It passed in such a hurry, and at this time, Gojo Satoru was leading 2 students in the high school. One student looked very worried and looked like a gangster. The girl was also dressed in the same way. Gojo Satoru looked at the 2 people he had beaten to the ground with a headache on his face. As I said, your spell power is too crude. Although the damage is very high, if you want to master the strange power, you must know fine control. Gojo Satoru said with a headache. The anxious-looking boy had an ugly expression on his face, and he looked at Gojo Satoru in front of him with dissatisfaction flashing in his eyes. You're not playing tricks on me, are you? Who else can achieve that kind of precise control of the spell except you? The young man said stubbornly. Yes, of course. Isn't this kind of control very simple? And that guy's spell power is much rougher than yours, and the power of the spell is even more terrifying. Gojo Satoru waved his hand. The boy curled his lips helplessly and thought to himself, this monster. Gojo Satoru was too strong, so powerful that no matter how much progress he made, he could not hurt this monster, even a little. Even if he won the jackpot, he was still defeated instantly. But having said that, I haven't seen him for a long time, but I heard that he will come back after a while. I happen to have something to do, so I will leave it to you. Gojo Satoru said calmly. Chapter 81. Hey, stop talking to yourself, you guy. Why does he teach us? The young man looked ugly, even though he looks older than Gojo Satoru. The girl also nodded and agreed with the boy. What about this? Don't worry. That guy is qualified to teach you, but I advise you to temper your personality. Humph, that guy doesn't have as good a temper as me. Please note that this is a reminder. Gojo Satoru's painting style changed. Said cutely. Then he said with a serious face, by the way, that guy is one of the 4 great Jujutsu masters today. He is my contemporary. Then he said no more and turned around to leave. Then get out of class is over, students. The 2 boys and the girl are naturally Gojo Satoru's student, Hoshi Kinji, and the girl-looking one is his classmate, Hoshi Karara. That blindfolded, I'm going to beat him up when I get stronger. The young man grinned and held his stomach. I don't know why Gojo Satoru was so cruel to him, which caused him to feel a little shadowy. It's okay, Scale. Who is that person that Mr. Gojo mentioned? The 4 top special Jujutsu masters today seem to be relatively strong people. Xing Luoluo said. I don't know either. I just know that I'm also a student in a high school. But it doesn't matter. As long as I'm not that pervert Gojo Satoru. If I can defeat that guy, I will be a super warlock. Shokunji said with disdain. His technique, he has a special style and is still leading the field. Now he can easily expand the field. Except for the pervert Gojo Satoru, he is not afraid of anyone. 2. Then the two started walking towards the classroom. On the other side, Gojo Satoru came to a room. Gojo, this task is left to you. The old man's voice sounded. Got it, Gojo Satoru said calmly. I heard that Uchiha Mae is coming back. The voice did not pursue Gojo Satoru's perfunctory, but asked with some fear. Yeah, I guess I'll go back to the high school to stay for a while. I know, you go back first. Gojo Satoru waved his hand and stretched out of the room. As soon as he walked out of the room, Gojo Satoru took off his glasses and wrapped a bandage around his eyes. Take out your cell phone and start making calls. When are you coming back? What happened these days? Replied Gojo Satoru with a cold voice. Don't you want to go back to the high school and help me take care of the students for a few days? Gojo Satoru said calmly. You think of me as a nanny. I don't want to take care of that kind of little brat. If you accidentally kill him, you just have to cry. The other end said angrily. Hey, what did you say? Ah, you agreed, then it's settled. Gojo Satoru was about to hang up the phone. Don't do this to me. If you dare to hang up the phone, I will destroy your student. The voice on the other end said coldly. I know, how many days will it take? That guy's magic power is of a special type like yours, and that kid named Scale may be able to compete with us. Gojo Satoru said seriously. Are you sure? Ming didn't believe it. Well, how should I put it? Although there is still a lot to be desired, he is a rare genius, and he can already expand his field skillfully. Gojo Satoru said calmly. What, you guys are not joking, are you? You have just entered the second year of a high school and you can start your field. In terms of progress alone, you can already compare with us. Ming was a little unbelievable, although he did not deny that there were other geniuses. But out of recognition of his and Gojo Satoru's talents, I still can't believe it. You must know that even Sha Yuji, who is extremely talented, only realized it after becoming a black man, and Sha Yuji's field is particularly demanding. At that time, Sha Yuji was about the same age as Shang Jinji now. Although he was not as perverted as Gojo Satoru and Ming, it still took a long time. Of course it's true, it's just that the field and the techniques are quite complicated, Gojo Satoru said. Oh, it's complicated. Is it more complicated than the structure of your technique? Ming became interested. No, the structure of the technique is complicated, but the effect displayed by the magician is complicated. You will know when the time comes, and I won't tell you any more, so I will leave this time to you. Okay, I'm also very interested in the guy you're talking about. You seem to have a lot of tasks lately. Ming has been very bored after so many years, so why not teach his students? It's not because of you. Your unscrupulous destruction back then led to a significant increase in cursed spirit over the years, and you killed many magicians last time. In order to cause unnecessary casualties, those old guys had no choice but to let me go. Although 99 Yuki performed the mission, but it was too time-consuming. Gojo Satoru complained. Don't mention that woman to me. Ming said with an unhappy look. Ha 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 ha, why don't you all live together? Shut up. Just cooperate, Ming said angrily. Okay, then I will leave my students to you. By the way, they have terrible personalities, so don't be too harsh. Gojo Satoru reminded. Then he hung up the phone. Ming put the phone in his pocket. Then he murmured, You're starting to look more and more like an adult, Satoru. It seems like you need to go back to high school. I haven't been back for a long time. Then Ming also took out his cell phone. Hey, what are you doing, Jia? Ming asked lazily. I can still do it. Is there anything wrong with removing the cursed spirit? Sha Yuji said lazily. You are a sociopath, why are you more active than Satoru and I? I really don't understand you. Ming said with disdain. There's nothing I can do about it. My technique requires cursed spirit. Besides, forget it, I won't tell you. If you tell me, tell Wu, how can I play with it? Sha Yuji hesitated to speak. Said. Do you think I'm a big-mouthed person, and don't you always get something out of me? Ming said angrily. Allah, don't worry. By the way, why are you calling me? I'm going back to the high school right now. I haven't been back for a long time. How about it? Do you want to meet me? Ming asked. Okay, just call me then. No more talking, I'm busy. Xiaoyuji also hung up the message. These two guys, they took the wrong medicine during this period, and they dared to blame my phone call. Really, forget it, let's talk about it in person. Ming lay on the recliner peacefully. In Jujutsu High School, a boy who looked like a gangster was sitting boredly at his desk, while the boy who looked like a girl next to him was looking at the boy infatuatedly. Zhang, what kind of person do you think our new teacher is? Xing Qiluoluo said angrily. Who knows, let's wait and see. Shokunji said nonchalantly. He is indeed proud of being a genius who can be taken seriously by Gojo Satoru, so it is normal to be disdainful of others. Xingqi Luo looked at the young man with admiration in his eyes. At this time, in the office of Senior College Yaga Masamiki, a handsome man sat in front of Yaga Masamiki with a faint smile on his face. Ming, it's true that you haven't come back to see me for so many years. At this time, Yaga Masamiki was no longer as round as he was, but at this time he looked even less like a teacher, and he was wearing sunglasses. It's true that Yaga Masamiki is indeed worthy of his image. You should know that Suo Jinji always has an, I'm not afraid of you, expression towards Gojo Satoru, but he is also very obedient in front of Yaga Masamiki. This is enough to express the intimidating power of Yaga Masamiki's image. Ha ha ha, it's my fault. I didn't expect that after so many years of not seeing each other, the teacher's image has changed a lot. Ming said with a smile on his face. The relationship between them as teacher and student has not weakened due to the fact that they have not remained unchanged for many years. You kid, your mouth is still the same as before. Why do you plan to stay in a high school this time? Yaga Masamiki asked. I will stay in Tokyo for a while. Ming said calmly. Yaga Masamiki nodded. By the way, Sansai, I heard that there is a student with good talent this time. Ming asked calmly. Oh, are you talking about Scale? He is a pretty good genius, but his technique is very special and the top management doesn't want to admit it. Yaga Masamiki said. Oh, are you those pedantic old guys? The teacher said so. I also want to be a little more interested. Just in time, Wu asked me to help with it for a while. Ming said with a smile on his face. Oh, are you taking it or returning it? But that child's character is very naughty. Although he is not as good as the three of you back then, he is still very difficult to deal with. Yaga Masamiki said. What, teacher, when I first came to Wu, Jia and I were very well behaved, right? Ming said with some annoyance. You guys, that guy Satoru said the same thing. Yaga Masamiki thought of the scene when the three of them met for the first time, and couldn't help showing a nostalgic look. He had a hunch that the three of them would become excellent friends when they first met. Partners, and the three of them were not disappointed, but now they parted ways because of different ideas. Especially Xiaoyuji, he has always been a thorn in Yaga Masamiki's heart. He felt that as a teacher, he did not give Xiaoyuji the correct guidance, so his heart was always filled with guilt. Really, that guy is really a villain and he complained first. Okay, I'll go see those two children first, Ming said. Then let me go, Yaga Masamiki said. No, I'll go by myself. I've already felt their spell power. In terms of spell power alone, it's really good. That's fine, but Ming, you'd better not go too far. Although the kid is a little broken, he is still a talent. Yaga Masamiki reminded that he knew his student very well. Allah, teacher. Ming stood up and waved his hand. Then slowly walked towards the classroom. Oh, I hope nothing happens. Yaga Masamiki looked at Ming's back and said with a headache. Forget it, let them make trouble on their own. Yaga Masamiki ignored it and concentrated on doing his own thing. On the other side, Ming has arrived in the classroom, feeling the power of the spell inside. The expression on Ming's face has disappeared, and he slowly opens the door. When Mei opened the door, Shokunji thought it was Gojo Satoru. After all, it was only the arrival of Gojo Satoru that prevented him from catching it. But the man who appeared in front of him also surprised him because he had never seen him before. The man had black hair and black eyes. He was almost the opposite of Gojo Satoru. He seemed to be taller than Gojo Satoru, but Buhei denied this man. His appearance is very good. Among the men that Suo Jinji and Hoshi Karara saw, only Gojo Satoru could compare with the man in front of them. But what surprised Shokunji the most was that even though the man in front of him was already standing in front of him, he didn't feel the slightest spell. "Who are you?" Shokunji said with a wary look. "Me, I'm your new teacher. My name is Uchiha Ming. I think Satoru must have mentioned it before," Ming said lightly, curiously looking at this scale. "The power of the spell is very rough, even without the Sharingan. You can tell with your own eyes that the direction of the flow of the magic power is very strange. It is indeed a good seedling," Ming thought secretly in his heart. Shokunji frowned. He felt that the man in front of him was not simple. "What qualifications do you have to teach me?" Although Shang Jinshi knew that Ming was not simple, he would not be afraid of Ming. "Are you qualified? Then let me ask you, what qualifications do you have to receive my teachings?" Ming said coldly. "If Wu hadn't begged me, do you think I would have come to teach you? Having said that, I am very doubtful about Wu's vision. Can you really be able to compete with us in the future just because you are so good?" Ming looked indifferent. Said. "What did you say?" Shang Jinshi quit immediately. It was the first time someone belittled him like this. How could he, who was already arrogant, hold back? "Do you need me to repeat it again?" Ming said coldly, and the pressure of the curse in his body instantly pressed towards the two of them like a tide. Feeling the huge pressure, Shang Jinshi's face changed, and drops of cold sweat flowed down his face. Shin Qiluoluo's face turned pale, and he couldn't even mobilize the magic power within him in a short period of time. Who is this guy? Such a huge spell power is unheard of. Even that guy Gojo Satoru is far inferior to him. Shokunji was secretly surprised, but the magic power still circulates in the body. This makes him feel better. "Don't think it's great because the magic power is huge," Shang Jinshi said with disdain. "So what if the magic power is powerful? In the world of Jujutsu, the art of fighting is talent." There was a smile on Ming's lips. This scale was quite interesting. "In that case, I will satisfy you." Ming Man came to the two of them at an extremely fast speed before they could react. Ming grabbed the two and activated his divine power. The scene turned, and the figures of the three Ming people came to the training ground. Ming Yi threw the two of them to the ground. "Since you want to take action, let me see your strength later, but I want to make it clear, don't blame me if you die," Ming said with an indifferent look. And Shokunji and Hoshi Karara were shocked again. It was the first time for him to see long-distance teleportation on anyone except Gojo Satoru, and he couldn't help but analyze Ming's technique in his heart. According to current understanding, Ming's ability is probably a space-type ability, and the keywords for teleportation must touch people. "What? Why don't you take action yet?" Ming said, looking at Shang Jinshi who was deep in thought. "HMPH, you think I'm afraid of you?" Shang Jinshi mobilized his magic power and rushed towards Ming quickly and punched Ming. Ming did not dodge and stood there. "Asshole, you really think you are Gojo Satoru?" Shokunji sneered in his heart. Due to the characteristics of the spell, his attacks were more powerful than normal attacks. However, Shokunji, who was confident enough to defeat Ming with one punch, passed through Ming's body. Shin Qiluoluo couldn't help but widen his eyes. Shokunji was also very surprised at this time. He began to continue attacking, but no matter what, he still couldn't hit Ming's entity. At this time, Shang Jinshi quickly analyzed Ming's technique in his mind. Is it a projection type? No, it doesn't look like it. Could it be virtualization? Shang Jinshi analyzed. What kind of magic are you doing? Do you just stand there? Shokunji said with disdain. In that case, let's see what the difference in strength is. Ming did not use his divine power. Make a fist with your right hand and punch the ground. I saw that the ground was torn apart instantly and spread rapidly to the surrounding areas. Shang Jinshi was knocked back by Ming's powerful air wave. He looked at Ming in surprise. What a powerful force, Shin Qiluoluo thought secretly in his heart. Are you surprised? Ming said calmly, and then punched out again, hitting Shokunji with an even more terrifying force and at an extremely fast speed. Shang Jinshi instantly strengthened his arms with magic power and blocked his face. But a terrifying punch instantly knocked him upside down, flying nearly 100 meters away. The surrounding trees began to break, and finally stopped on a rock. Scale. Xing Qiluoluo shouted worriedly and activated the technique. Flight among the stars. Ming, who was approaching Jinji, suddenly paused and looked at Xing Qiluoluo behind him. Is this your technique? When Ming's eye approached Shang Jinji, he seemed to be blocked by some force and could not get closer. So what, you can't get close to me and scale now? Xing Qiluoluo said. Is that really the case? The dark blood-red Sharingan stared at Xing Qiluoluo and said calmly. And when he saw the blood-red eyes of the underworld staring at Xing Qiluoluo, he was instantly pulled into the illusion. And the technique was forced to stop. Luo, Shang Jinji shouted loudly. He jumped out of the stone and activated all the magic power in his body. What, do you want to continue? Just rely on your three-legged cat's physical skills. Didn't your teacher Gojo Satoru tell you that even he was no match for me in physical skills back then? Ming said calmly. What, even that guy Gojo Satoru is not his opponent? I see, you developed that strange power, right? Shokunji said with a look of astonishment. Oh, is it weird power? That's right. At that time, I was bored and developed jujutsu randomly, even though I couldn't get it on the stage. Ming waved his hand indifferently. In that case, I have to be a little more serious. You guys, except for Gojo Satoru, this is the first time I have been beaten so badly. Shokunji said easily. Even so, he was not a little bit embarrassed. Looking at the man in front of him, he didn't know why Xing Qiluoluo lost consciousness from the beginning to the end. He only saw the man in front of him, a flash of red in his eyes, and the intangible spell. There are also terrifyingly strong physical skills. In other words, he had no other choice but to take a gamble. Domain expansion, sit down and kill Botu. Shang Jinji waved, okay, with one hand and stretched out the tent with the other. Looking at the changing scenes around him, Ming looked around, and a strange piece of information suddenly appeared in his mind. I see, is this your field? It is indeed different from the traditional field. Ming was also slightly surprised when he saw such a complicated field for the first time. Then a series of plots began to play out in front of Ming's eyes. Interesting, let me have some fun with you. Ming slowly sat on the ground and waited for the so-called grand prize. An excited expression appeared on Shokunji's face. He knew that the man in front of him was very powerful. He was even defeated before he won the big prize. But the man in front of him was so arrogant, so how could he let him down? After about the third draw, Shokunji finally won the grand prize. When the grand prize appeared, Suo Jinji's spell power instantly increased greatly, and it was no longer weaker than Gojo Satoru. Violent curse power spurted out from Shang Jinji's body. This is the feeling, it's great, this is passion. Shokunji had a smile on his face. 4 minutes of invincibility. Ming looked at Shang Jinji calmly. The scale of gold and other places restarted toward Ming at an extremely fast speed. The majestic restless spell protected his fist and punched Ming, but it passed through Ming's body in an instant. It's still like this several times in a row. You guys can only use such rogue moves. To be honest, you are just like that. Shokunji said angrily. Keep pumping your fists. Oh, you're really arrogant. Ming looked cold. The scene that followed shocked Shoujinji for a moment. He saw that his punch, which was full of peak power, was easily blocked by the man in front of him. Is this the only level? Ming looked disappointed. Then he punched out, and Shokunji's body, which was strengthened by the magic power, was instantly shattered. How is it possible? Shang Jinji looked in pain, and the injury continued in an instant. Ming didn't speak this time and started to attack Shang Jinji, but I have to say that this guy's technique is indeed extraordinary, and he can heal the injury instantly no matter how serious it is. Amaterasu, S3 Mangekyō Sharingan with blood-red eyes transformed into the Mangekyō Sharingan, and a terrifying black flame emerged from Shokunji's body. Ah! Shokunji shouted loudly with a look of pain on his face. What the hell is this? Shokunji shouted. No matter what method he used, neither could extinguish the flames, and even his best friend was set on fire. Add Earth life. I've had enough fun, let's end it. Tsukuyomi. Ming extinguished Amaterasu, and he also knew that Shokunji's invincibility time was coming soon. But in order to teach this prickly head a lesson, before he fainted, he cast Tsukuyomi again. In the spiritual world, Shang Jinchi looked at Ming with a surprised look. I don't blame him for this. Suddenly, I appeared on a red moon from a place, and the surrounding environment was still so dark. He was naturally surprised. Is this the realm? Of course not. This is my illusion. To be precise, your spirit has been pulled into a world that only belongs to me. Ming said calmly. What do you want? Although Shang Jinsigwang didn't understand, he knew that Ming would not kill him. You're really tough. I don't know if you can hold on. Ming said calmly. Then he stabbed Shokunji, who was tied to the cross, without mercy. Ah, you guy. Shokunji didn't expect it to hurt so much. For a moment, I forgot that this was the environment. For the next 3 days and 3 nights, I will attack you endlessly. Please note that although it is an illusion, you will still feel pain. Ming said with a smile on his face. This smile looked like a devil in the eyes of Shang Jinchi. Also, I advise you not to waste your efforts. Tsukiyomi is the technique I cast on you. Although I will attack you for 3 days and 3 nights, it is only a moment outside, so this jutsu is theoretically unbreakable, even by Gojo Satoru. Even he relied on his strong mental power to survive. Ming said calmly. Outside, Shokunji was completely unconscious at this time. At this moment, Shinkiluoluo had already broken free from Ming's illusion. At this time, he looked at Shokunji lying on the ground and attacked him without any hesitation. Ming naturally noticed it too. With a kick, Shinkiluoluo flew out. Then he slowly walked towards the unconscious Shokunji. The attack was a bit harsh. It seems that Shoko needs to be treated. Ming said calmly. At this time, Shinkiluoluo stood up from the ground. Although he was very embarrassed, he still activated his technique, Star Flight. If you want to touch the scale, you must touch me first. Shinkiluoluo said firmly. Is this really the case? Ming said calmly, stretching his hand in the direction of Shang Jinchi. Wanxiang Tianian. A terrifying gravitational force began to exert force instantly, and Shokunji's body flew towards Ming, but halfway through the flight, Shokunjidao's body stopped in midair. Ming raised his eyebrows and continued to increase his intensity. No, it's useless, my technique. Before he could finish speaking, Shang Jinchi's body had successfully flown into Ming's hand, and Ming was pulling the back of Shang Jin's neck like a chicken. Ming, who is more than 1.9 meters tall, picked up Shang Jinchi even on the ground. And the moment Shokunji was caught, the numbers marked by Hoshikarara also disappeared instantly. How is it possible? Shinkiluoluo couldn't believe that his spell was forcibly broken. This is the first time. Looking at Ming's side face at this time, the demon-like figure made Shinkiluoluo completely despair. At this time, he collapsed on the ground and looked at Ming in surprise. Ming slowly walked towards Hoshikiluoluo, who showed no resistance, while carrying Shang Jinchi, and then grabbed his shoulders. The figures of the 3 people began to twist, and finally disappeared in place. In a laboratory, a tall woman with extremely beautiful appearance was looking at the report in front of her. The woman's only shortcomings are probably her dark circles under her eyes and her lack of energy. Shoko, long time no see. At this time, a figure suddenly appeared in the woman's house. The woman was shocked and raised her head. From surprise to surprise, she came to the man in an instant. Ming, it's really you. Shoko said happily. There was a smile on Ming's face, and he rubbed Shoko's head with his big hands. Shoko rolled his eyes, but didn't move away from the warm hands. Hey, I'm not a kid anymore. Shoko said. Ha ha ha, haven't we seen each other for a long time? By the way, Shoko, help me heal these 2 children. Ming said with a faint smile. Oh, only then did Shoko know the 2 people in Ming's hands and beside him. Isn't this Gojo's student? Shoko asked with a puzzled look on his face. Shoko was very familiar with the 2 of them. After all, Gojo Satoru always brought 2 injured people to her for free treatment. Oh, that guy Satoru is on a mission. I just happened to be back in Tokyo during this time to help him. Ming said calmly. Shoko rolled his eyes, and felt a little lucky at the same time. Fortunately, teacher Yaga Masamiki didn't do this to Ming and Gojo Satoru. These 2 people were not serious. Anyone who becomes their student would be lucky, at least he is the one in front of him. It was very pitiful. Every time he was brought in, he was brought unconscious and carried by someone else. The only difference is that this time it's not Gojo Satoru. Okay, you put the unconscious guy on the bed first, and I'll treat the slightly injured one first. Shoko said calmly. Ming didn't say much and threw Shang Jinchi on the bed. And Hoshikara also knows Shoko's identity. Shoko's reversal technique was very powerful, and Hoshikara's injuries were cured after a while. Shoko finished treating Hoshikara, and then began to check the injuries of Shokunji. After checking for a long time, he found that Shokunji did not have any injuries. No need to check, he fell into my illusion, and his spirit was severely damaged by me. Ming said calmly. Is it, Tsukuyomi? Yes, I know, it looks like we're going to be in trouble. By the way, I'm hungry, so go buy something to eat. Shoko said. That's fine. Ming then walked out of the room. Watching Mei leave, Hoshikara looked at Shoko. Teacher Shoko, how is the scale? Is he okay? Hoshiki Luoluo said worriedly. It's very troublesome. If the willpower of Tsukuyomi who is possessed by the underworld is weak, he will go crazy when he wakes up. Even if he is not crazy, it may have an impact on his future strength. Shoko said lightly. Is it that serious? I was also caught in his illusion and didn't feel anything. Shinki Luoluo said. It's different. You were hit by an ordinary genjutsu of the Sharingan, while he was hit by a kaleidoscope pupil technique. The two are not of the same magnitude at all. Shoko said calmly. Looking at Karara, who was even more worried, even though he was a boy, his girlish appearance and pitiful expression still made Shoko feel soft in his heart. Don't worry, Ming is also your teacher after all, he won't kill him. I guess it's fine, it just needs a little treatment and a few days to recover. I understand, thank you Mr. Shoko. Hoshikiro looked at Shoko gratefully. No, after all, you are also Gojo's student, but I still want to remind you that you must protect yourselves before Gojo comes back. Shoko said. Hoshikiro looked at Shoko with a cute expression. I'm going to die, really. Shoko said calmly, and in his mind, he heard all the things that happened in the past, the celestial general meteorite and Susanoo. Each one is enough to kill a person. At this time, Hoshikara's expression instantly collapsed. He almost wanted to cry, and even missed Gojo Satoru a little. At least Gojo Satoru was good to him. Although he would get injured every time he trained, in the hands of this person he will die. After a while, Ming came back with food. But only the three of them started eating, and while eating, Xingqi Luoluo looked at Ming with a wary and nervous expression. Thinking of Shoko's words, he looked ugly. He didn't think Shoko would lie to him. And just when the three of them finished eating, after Shoko's treatment and Mei's mercy, Shokunji finally slowly woke up. Xingqi Luoluo noticed it for the first time, and came to Shokunji with a look of helplessness. At this time, Shang Jinchi was a little dizzy. Although he was there for 3 days and 3 nights, Ming actually abused him for less than an hour. But I still feel dizzy. He had never felt so weak. Hey, I woke up, it's a little faster than I thought. Ming said calmly. Hearing Ming's voice, Shang Jinchi's pupils suddenly shrank while lying on the bed. A look of horror appeared on his face. What does it look like? Are you convinced or not? Ming looked at Shang Jinchi and said. No, I don't accept it, Shokunji said still forcefully. But the severe fear could not be hidden. Oh, really? Then continue. A black stick appeared in Mingshu's heart and stabbed Shang Jinchi quickly. However, Shang Jinchi was very weak and could only watch the black stick attack him. The moment the black stick passed through Shang Jinchi, Ming broke the stick in his hand. What are you going to do? Shang Jinchi looked at Ming and said fearfully. Nothing. I just want to pin you to a prosperous place in Tokyo for them to admire, Master Jujutsu. Ming sneered. Just a reminder, this black rod was made using yin-yang escape. Forget it, you don't understand even if I tell you, just think it's one of my abilities. You should be able to detect it now. You can't at all now. Mobilize the magic power in your body. Ming explained. After Ming reminded Shang Jinchi, he immediately mobilized the power of the curse, but found that the power of the curse in his body really couldn't be mobilized. Wait a minute, I'm convinced. Shokunji was completely panicked. He didn't want to be pinned to Tokyo. If that happened, it would be better to kill him. And at first glance, the man in front of him was no joke. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure, teacher, I was wrong. At this time, Shang Jinchi climbed up from the bed with difficulty and lowered his head. That's good. I'll forgive you if you know you're wrong, teacher. Remember, although I like the fact that you know your mistakes and can correct them, I don't like your image as a teacher very much. Ming led Sha Yuji. He said with a gentle smile. So before me tomorrow, make me look like a student. By the way, don't be late. After saying that, Ming took Shoko out of the room. Watching Ming leave, Shokunji breathed a sigh of relief. Scale, are you okay? Shin Kiluoluo asked worriedly. It's not bad, he said. Shokunji pulled out the black rod from his stomach and used the reversal technique to treat the injury. Then he looked at Black Stick with a gloomy look. Then throw it on the ground. Well, Scale, we should just listen to him during this period. Shin Kiluoluo said. I understand, Luo, it's okay. When I become stronger, I will naturally take revenge. Shang Jinchi said. Okay, you go back first, Luo, I want to have a good rest. Shang Jinchi said while lying on the bed. Shin Kiluoluo slowly left the single room without saying anything. The next day, in the afternoon at the high school training ground, Ming looked at Shokunji. At this time, Shokunji's weird hairstyle had been cut off, turning him into a bald head, and his beard was shaved clean, although he still looked like he looks cool, but his image has changed a lot. Ming nodded with satisfaction. Okay, in that case, let's start class. Ming said calmly. Teacher Ming, the scale has not fully recovered yet. It is not suitable for fighting. Shin Kiluoluo said cautiously. Of course I know that today is not about actual combat, but about teaching you how to control the magic power. After Ming finished speaking, he came to a tree and said, today's lesson is tree climbing. Climb a tree, climb a tree. Shokunji and Hoshiki Luoluo looked at Ming in surprise. It's not the kind of tree climbing you think. After saying that, he started walking towards the big tree in front of him. The two looked at Ming in surprise. Do you understand? Attach your magic power to your feet, attach it to the tree and slowly walk up. Ming said calmly. The two of them also saw this operation once, and then started to try it. However, it seems to be a simple operation, so it is difficult for the two of them, especially Shang Jinji. His spell power is already rough, and this kind of fine control is difficult for him. Shin Kiluoluo is quite talented in controlling the magic power. Although he is not very skilled, he quickly found the trick. Time passed little by little, and Shokunji became more and more irritable. After all, no matter how he tried, he failed. Although he made progress every time, he was not as fast as Hoshikira. He can now only take 3 steps before falling. And for him, the way to control the magic power does not increase the combat power in his opinion. Ming Zaran also saw Shang Jinchi's emotions. Without speaking, his eyes switched to the Mangekyō Sharingan. Amaterasu. Black flames instantly enveloped the top and bottom of the tree, but did not burn. Okay, let's continue. If you don't fall down seriously and get contaminated by this black flame, then don't blame me. Please remind me that this black flame can even burn with spell power and will not go out. Ming said lightly, then ignored me. The two of them found a shady place, took out their lounge chairs, put on their sunglasses and began to rest. Watching Ming leave, the two men panicked instantly. He knew how powerful this flame was. If he hadn't been in the grand prize time at that time, he would have been burned to death long ago. Ming suddenly stopped his hand, and as soon as the invincible time passed, there was no ashes left in him in a moment. Not to mention Shin Kiluoluo, he is not a fool. The flames with such terrifying high temperature are not simple ordinary flames. In fact, what made the two people panic was that Ming actually walked away. You must know that such a terrifying flame will be destroyed if you make a mistake and fall. Ming couldn't arrive immediately. At this time, both of them were sweating profusely and controlling the spell power seriously, especially Shokunji. At this time, there was a little sweat on the forehead. It was not because of the temperature of Amaterasu, but because of the 120% effort put into it. Put pressure on him. Although Ming was facing the two of them, he couldn't ignore them. At this time, his eyes under his sunglasses had turned purple, and there was a bird with the same eyes on a tree nearby. The beast is watching. Yes, this is much better. Ming nodded with satisfaction, feeling a sense of pride as he watched his students grow. No wonder that Guy Wu is so keen on being a teacher. It doesn't feel bad, Ming said calmly. No wonder that Guy Wu chose to be a teacher. It feels not bad, Ming Yu said contentedly. Time passed quickly. After about half an hour, Ming felt that he was almost done. He came to the two of them and cancelled Amaterasu. The two could no longer hold on and fell to the ground in free fall. Yes, it seems it's almost done, Ming said lightly. Then let's continue with the second training. Ah, the two looked at Ming in surprise. Don't worry, the next step is very simple, Ming said calmly. Then he took the two of them to the playground. The two of them looked at Ming with painful expressions. The next step is to run laps. As a jujutsu master, you can't do it without a strong body, Ming said calmly. Then he took a few iron blocks from Shinwei's space. Tie this on and run. 500 laps is enough, Ming said calmly. The two of them looked at Ming, but there was nothing they could do. Although 500 laps is difficult for ordinary people, it can still be completed for them. But when the two went to get the iron block, they found something wrong, because Shang Jinji didn't pick it up the first time. Oh, I forgot to mention that these are not iron blocks, but high concentration lead blocks. One weighs about 100 kilograms, and the smaller one weighs 50 kilograms. Ming explained lightly. What? Shang Jinji was a little surprised and looked at Ming. Xing Qiluoluo also looked ugly. What? Do you have any opinions, Mr. Shokunsi? Do you want to continue practicing manipulating spells or running? Ming said calmly. Shokunji looked ugly, and finally chose to run, because his magic power had reached the bottom, and if he tried to control the magic power again, he might be burned to death by Amaterasu. Hoshiki Luoluo also chose to run with Shang Jinji. Okay, since you all agree. The black stick appeared in Ming's hand again and stabbed at the two of them at extremely fast speeds. Teacher, you, Xingqi Luoluo looked at Ming with some confusion. Oh, running is just running, how can you use magic power? Let's start, Ming said calmly. What, how can this be accomplished? Shokunji said angrily. Oh, are you questioning me? Ming said coldly. The killing intent in his eyes flashed away, but Shokunji felt it clearly. Although the killing intent was not strong, it was extremely pure. No, teacher, Shokunji lowered his head and said. The man in front of me is too dangerous. With the killing intent just now, he was not sure whether he would be killed if he was still dishonest. Then let's start, Ming said calmly. The two of them could only go for a run. After 2 hours, the two of them were sweating and their speed had obviously slowed down. Especially Shang Jinji's condition is very bad. He was tortured by Ming's illusion yesterday. Then turn on the control spell and complete high-intensity training. But Ming still looked at the two running expressionlessly. But in fact, Ming secretly recognized Shang Jinji. With such talent and good perseverance, even if he cannot reach our level, at least becoming a special level should be no problem. But this kid's field is a problem. Although it is very special, it has a fatal weakness. If you don't win the lottery, it will be very weak, and the gambler will not end well in the end. It seems that some training adjustments need to be made for that kid's field. Ming analyzed lightly. After about 2 hours, Shokunji finally couldn't hold on and passed out. The same goes for Xing Qiluoluo, who finally failed to hold on. Ming nodded with satisfaction, came to the two of them, took them to Shoko, treated them for a while, and took them back to the dormitory. Then start planning the next training situation. The next day was still about mantra manipulation and physical training. However, climbing trees was changed to treading water. I was still like this on the 3rd day, and the same on the 4th day, until the 5th day, Ming brought the two of them into the training ground. This venue is the largest training ground for high schools. Teacher Ming, no need to train today, Xing Qiluoluo said. Today's actual combat, after all, I have been training for so long, let you feel the results of this period of training. Ming said calmly. Really, Shokunji said excitedly. Of course, use all your strength, and the only request I have for you is one. Ming said calmly. What is it, teacher? Xingqi Luoluo asked after swallowing a mouthful of saliva. Stay alive, Ming said calmly. Ah, Shang Jinji and Xingqi Luoluo looked at Ming in surprise. Don't worry, go ahead boldly, don't be afraid of hurting me, because no one in this world can hurt me except your teacher Gojo Satoru. Ming said calmly, "You must know that the time he awakened the Samsara Eye, he was beaten by Gojo Satoru. He was very embarrassed. It was also the first time he was injured after becoming a magician." Hoshikiroro and Shokunji rolled their eyes and said they were afraid of hurting you. "We were worried about our own lives." "Don't worry, I won't use illusions, because I want to test your strength, so you don't need to be careful about my illusions. I can't use Amaterasu, and I have divine power," Ming said calmly. Hearing this, Shokunji felt a little better. After all, basically as long as one of each ability was hit, they were done. Of course, when they heard this, some of them were a little curious. After talking about so many abilities, did Ming have other techniques? Can one person really access so many techniques? Although it is said to be an extension, Ming's abilities are not related to it no matter how you look at it. What is his birth technique like? This is a question that has been plaguing Jinchi and Hoshikiroro. Stop talking nonsense, let's get started. Remember to survive. Ming closed his eyes and opened them again. A pair of purple eyes that they had never seen before appeared, and there were lines of reincarnation in the purple eyes. This pair of eyes was different from the blood-red eyes, appearing more profound and mysterious. And the moment Ming's reincarnation eye appeared, Shang Jinchi felt the pressure surge. I began to mobilize my own magic power. Now I have mastered the steps of treading water and climbing trees, and I am more skillful in controlling the magic power. Not only is the use of my magic power more efficient, but I can even mobilize it much faster than before. Come on, Ming said calmly. Shio Jinchi rushed towards Ming in an instant, and the violent spell covered his fist. He punched Ming, just as his fist was about to hit Ming's face. Shenri Tianzhong, a terrifying repulsive force isolated Shang Jinchi, and bounced him away. Star Kiluoluo instantly casts moving spells. Catch the golden ruler. Repulsion, same ability as Mr. Gojo. Xingqi Luo looked at Ming in surprise. Although they are both repulsive forces, they are not the same. Gojo Satoru's repulsive force is more concentrated, while Teacher Ming's repulsive force is more dispersed. But for monsters like them, this level can be controlled at will. Zhang Jinchi looked at Ming warily. In the past few days since being taught by Ming, his strength has made a qualitative leap. His proficiency in the control of spell power allowed him to know that the extension and form changes of this strong man's moves were at his fingertips, and he could attack according to the attack method he wanted. Ming didn't talk nonsense and reached out to scale Jin again. Wanxiang Tianian, a terrifying gravitational attraction appeared, and the magic power condensed in Ming's hand. Waiting for Shokunji to fly over. Flying among the stars, Hoshiki Luoluo instantly marked Mingei Shangjinji. There seemed to be an invisible distance between the two of them. At the moment of isolation, Shang Jinji burst out with powerful magic power to break free from the restraints. Ming nodded secretly. Express approval. So how do you plan to stop it this time? Micro, the earth explodes and the sky stars. A small black ball flew into the sky, and attracted the two people in the clods of dirt on the ground. Xing Qiluoluo felt bad for a moment when he looked at the huge black ball. He used his own spell again, but this time, just like the last time he dealt with Ming, his spell was forcibly broken again. There is no other way. Domain expansion, sit down and kill Botu. Scale Jinchi can only use domain expansion. But this time, Jin won the grand prize in the lottery. Not bad, it seems that the probability has indeed increased a lot, but this way of exploiting the loopholes in the spell can only last for 1 minute. Ming said lightly. This was also the way Ming taught to give Shang Jin. Faced with an absolutely dangerous situation, the probability of giving up 3 lottery opportunities in exchange for the grand prize is only 1 minute, but this minute can protect his life at a critical moment. For this purpose, Ming specially did some special training for Shang Jinchi, as well as some knowledge about the field. Note: in the original work, Sukuna released the shackles of the sure hit effect, and in exchange for the further improvement of the slashing attack, the weighing gold times can also be completed. After entering the invincible time, Shang Jinji instantly opened up the magic power to the maximum, punched out, and the black sphere was instantly exploded. Ming was not surprised at all. After all, this thing can be manufactured later. Not bad, doesn't this look good? Ming praised lightly. Then Pluto's body began to grow some robotic arms. Come and start attacking Shokunji and Hoshikiroro. The two were surprised, but without any hesitation they immediately tried to dodge the attack. Looking at the two people who started to avoid using their own abilities, Ming had a smile on his lips. Asura Road, fire coverage. Like an arsenal, Ming began to launch various bombardments around it. Soon the surrounding training ground was blown to pieces. Time is running out, Shokunji thought to himself, and then the spell power fully emerged. His spell power at this time was endless, and he also had reversal techniques that he could activate all the time. As long as his head is not cut off instantly, he will not be injured. So I decided to be reckless. Strange power, maximum output. Holding Ming's attack hard, Zheng Jin quickly approached Ming. Then he punched Xiang Ming, and the surrounding space was even a little distorted. Yes, although it is a suicide attack, it is indeed the best choice to be invincible for this minute. Ming said calmly. Stretching out his white palm, he calmly caught Shokunji's winning punch. The huge power instantly destroyed the building behind Ming, but Ming did not take a step back. What? Shang Jinchi exclaimed. He looked at Ming with a look of disbelief. The way of the hungry ghost. Ming's eyes narrowed slightly. Shang Jinchi felt that the magic power in his body was being absorbed by the opponent, but Ming's hand was held so tightly that he couldn't break free. Hateful. Without the slightest hesitation, Shokunji cut off his arm instantly. Then quickly left Ming's eyes. The arm is also recovering quickly. Wise choice. Ming nodded lightly. Shang Jinchi was not at all happy to receive praise from Ming. Instead, he looked at Ming with a solemn expression. Come on, there are still 20 seconds left, don't die, little Jinchi. And Luo, the dark purple eyes retreated. Then it turns into the blood-red eyes of Curse. Susanoo. Then a huge giant rose from the ground. A huge giant over 50 meters tall. Don't be crushed by me. Ming's cold voice came from Susanoo's stomach. And after he finished speaking, the giant's forearms began to condense the lightsaber. It started swinging at the two of them, but they could only be dodged. After about a while, the time for weighing gold has come, and Xingqi Luo's spell power has been exhausted. Isn't it possible? Ming looked at the two of them calmly. No, teacher, we lost, Xingqi Luo said bitterly. It was the first time that they felt so inferior. Seeing Ming's face calm and not even taking any action during the whole process, they couldn't shake even a little bit. They were so desperate. Ming is different from Gojo Satoru. It's not that Ming is stronger than Gojo Satoru, but Ming's abilities are more abnormal than the other, and you don't know any information yet. And the reason why Ming switched to eyes was also for better targeted training. Otherwise, they can be defeated easily without even needing the Samsara eye. Lost. What happened? It's possible. It's not over yet, classmates. Ming said calmly. Teacher, Xingqi Luo's eyes widened, something bad flashed in his eyes. Before he could finish speaking, Ming interrupted and said, I know you've been working very hard these days, so I'm going to make another move. I've already said the task for this class, there's only one, survive. Then Ming's Susanoo began to form seals. Heaven hinders the earthquake star. The sky suddenly became dark. The two of them saw a drop of cold sweat dripping down Ming's face. Looking up at the dark sky, they were almost frightened to death. Because a 1,000-meter boulder slowly fell from the sky. Teacher, Xingqi Luo looked at Ming. She was about to say something, but she was stunned for a moment because Ming was nowhere to be seen at this time. Stop talking, Luo, stop the stone quickly. Shang Jinchi looked at the two of them. But Scale, how can we stop it? This is simply a natural disaster. Xingqi Luo almost cried. Continue to draw the lottery for me. Shang Jinchi shouted loudly. Xingqi Luo was not idle either. Although there was not much magic power left, he still used the magic power to mark and solve possible problems depending on the speed of the huge meteorite falling. Shokunji's face was getting uglier and uglier at this time, because it seemed as if half of his luck had been used up. He had been drawing for a long time without drawing anything, and even the spell power was not restored. Two tall figures stood on the peak at the edge of the training ground and looked at the two people in the center. Even though they were thousands of meters apart, they could still see their expressions clearly. It's a bit too much, Ming, said a frivolous voice. There was no panic at all when facing the huge meteorite above his head. With the two of us here, do you think they will be in any danger? Ming said coldly. If Shoko were here, he would definitely say that there would be danger only if you two are around. Yes, the man next to Mei is Gojo Satoru, who just returned from a mission. Gojo Satoru came back after completing his mission. He didn't expect to see this scene, and he also had a headache. After all, if this trick continues, only a handful of people in this world can survive, not to mention the two people who are now close to depleting their magic power. That's right, let's see what they do. However, the scale of the meteorite is much smaller this time and it is probably easy to solve. Gojo Satoru said calmly. That's it, otherwise, how can we improve if the battle is too easy? Ming said lightly, fully agreeing with Gojo's words. If anyone else were here, they would definitely complain, is this easy? Natural disasters are nothing more than that. Gojo Satoru and Mei looked at all this calmly. At this time, Shokunji in the battlefield was covered in blood, and the spell power on his body had already bottomed out. Although he still stubbornly stopped the meteorites from the sky. But there was nothing he could do to save it. If he had won the big prize in the lottery, it would be easy to break it. However, after the melting point of the spell and the consumption just now, he had no means at this time. Faced with this dangerous situation, Shiro Jinchi's negative emotions reached their peak, and the already depleted spell power resurfaced and surged. Woo! Ming immediately noticed the situation there and knew that the purpose of the exercise was achieved. Gojo Satoru naturally understood the meaning of Ming instantly. Got it. Gojo Satoru shook his hands. The figure disappeared instantly. The shadowy figure also began to twist. Gojo Satoru teleported to the side of Suo Jinji and Hoshi Karara. In a flash, he disappeared from the field and came to the mountain where the two were standing just now. And Ming's figure appeared on the battlefield at this time. Shenra Tianzhong, condense, slowly put his hand on the meteorite. As if it had overcome gravity, the meteorite slowly flew back toward the sky, and soon disappeared from everyone's eyes. So strong, Shinkiluoluo was amazed. After all, he probably would never be able to reach this level of power in his lifetime. Although Shokunji was surprised, he looked unhappy. Not bad, Scale, you have become a lot stronger recently. Gojo Satoru's six eyes naturally sees everything, and also sees the improvement of Scale in the two. An idea began to form in his mind. Anyway, he had nothing to do, so he might as well help him take care of his students. The more Gojo Satoru thought about it, the more feasible it became, and his style of painting even changed. Hoshi Karara and Shokunji looked at them like they were fools. At this time, Mingya teleported back. Looking at Gojo Satoru's shameless expression, he knew that this guy was definitely planning on him. Ming, needless to say, I have no time. No time, and there will be no time in the future. Ming Qian said. Hey, I haven't said it yet. Gojo Satoru said with an unhappy look on his face. You guy, I don't know what kind of evil you are holding back. Didn't you just ask me to teach them and tell you to dream? I don't have time, Ming said with a look of disdain. Seeing the determined Ming, Gojo Satoru said no more. Forget it, I'll do it myself. Gojo Satoru waved his hand and said. Avertisement. It's just you, Wu, I'm not talking about you. You guys should just change your career. The profession of teacher is not suitable for you. Ming mocked. What, how is that possible? Do you think there is a better teacher than me? Gojo Satoru said unhappily and pointed at his eyes covered by white cloth. Oh, is that so? Ming had a playful smile on his face. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. Gojo Satoru said proudly. Really, then you can leave the simple domain to them. No matter what, I can improve their current strength a little bit. Ming said calmly. Gojo Satoru felt a headache and touched his bandage. Obviously he couldn't do it. Looking at the dilemma, Gojo Satoru Kinji and Hoshi Karara were a little puzzled and said that although the simple realm of Shininryu is not a real realm, it is also relatively difficult to learn. But it shouldn't be difficult for Gojo Satoru. On the other hand, Shokunji had a look of disdain. He could do it with domain expansion, so who would study that kind of field? You guy, you go ahead. Gojo Satoru said angrily. Don't tell me, I'm really good at it. Do you think I'm still the same person as before? Ming said calmly. The two started to quarrel, but Shokunji sat there with a calm face. He could tell that the two had a very good relationship. This was the first time he saw Mei and Gojo Satoru like this. Although Gojo Satoru usually has a non-serious and cynical look, but this time Gojo Satoru feels more real. Shin Kiluoluo was at the side to break up the fight. Ming and Gojo Satoru argued for a while and finally decided to give them a day off. Let the two of them relax, and they are happy for the first time to have a holiday. Gojo Satoru and Minori had something to say about the two of them leaving the high school quickly. What the specific matter was, Suo Kinji and Hoshi Karara didn't know, and they were not interested in knowing. The two returned to the high school and happened to see Yaga Masamiki sitting there making a curse. Principal Yaga. Good. Karara Hoshi. Principal. Weighs gold times. Yaga Masamiki raised his head and glanced at the two of them, then lowered his head and continued to repair the cursed bones. Oh, you two, it seems that Ming has given you a holiday. But that guy Satoru is back too, so he probably won't have time to pay attention to you two. Principal Yaga, can I ask, do Mr. Gojo and Mr. Ming have a good relationship? Hoshi Karara naturally saw that Gojo Satoru and Ming had a very good relationship. Yes, although they quarrel or even fight every time they meet, their relationship is indeed very good. Ming is Satoru's best friend, and so is Ming. Satoru is also his only best friend, Yaga Masamiki said. Then who is the other one? Shin Kiluoluo asked as if instinctively. Shut up, Luo. Shang Jinchi also guessed who that person was. After all, Shayuji is also very famous now, and his relationship with Gojo Satoru is not a secret. It doesn't matter. You should also cherish your time in Mingji. Compared to Satoru, he is the most suitable to teach others. Yaga Masamiki said. Suo Jinji and Hoshi Karara looked ugly. They had had enough of that kind of fearful training. It was simply a double torture, both mental and physical. You must know that if you are not careful during training, your life may be in danger. Why? Xingqi Luo said puzzledly. Why? Gojo-sensei is the strongest. Hoshi Karara looked at Yaga Masamiki with some confusion. You must know that Gojo Satoru is recognized as the strongest jujutsu master. Even if Ming is stronger than the two of them, they don't think they will be stronger than Gojo Satoru. I know what you are thinking. First of all, it is a recognized fact in the jujutsu world that Satoru is the strongest, but in my opinion, it is not. Yaga Masamiki said. Is Teacher Ming stronger than Teacher Gojo? Hoshikiroro asked in surprise, and Shokunji also became interested. Although he hates Gojo Satoru and doesn't even respect him, he fully recognizes Gojo Satoru's title of being the strongest. That's not the case. In fact, I don't know who is stronger among them. Even they themselves don't know the answer. But during the high school period, Ming was definitely ahead of Wu, and the so-called strongest, that guy Satoru never acknowledged it. Yaga Masamiki said calmly. Satoru once said, before defeating Ming, his strongest title should be inherited by the two of them. Both of them were surprised again and looked at Ming's strength. They knew that even the strongest Gojo Satoru was overwhelmed. How could they defeat him? Then Principal Yaga, why did you tell us to cherish this time? Hoshiki Luoluo asked in confusion. To be precise, that guy Satoru is not suitable to be a teacher, because he can basically master those abilities that take a long time for ordinary people to learn at a glance, and he can surpass me in an instant. There are some things that he can't do, but he doesn't know how to teach. Yaga Masamiki said helplessly. Is it too simple for him? What does that have to do with Teacher Ming? Aren't Teacher Ming and Teacher Gojo the same type? Shin Kiluoluo asked in confusion. No, to be precise, the two of them are of the same type. They are even about the same academic ability. But there is one thing about Ming that is stronger than Wu, and that is the development and extension of abilities. He will immediately target his learning abilities. Improve yourself, so compared to Satori, Ming is more suitable to teach others. Yaga Masamiki said. You have also noticed that your strength has increased a lot during this time. Yes, even though Shokunji was tortured miserably by Ming, his strength did make a qualitative leap. After saying that, Yaga Masamiki stopped talking, and the two of them shouted hello and walked out. On the other hand, Ming and Gojo Satoru came to a dessert shop. After buying some desserts, the two of them sat down and chatted. Tell me, what's the matter? Ming stared at Gojo Satoru calmly. I took a fancy to a student, but they didn't want to let him go, so I asked you to help. Gojo Satoru had a smile on his face. Tell me the important point. Ming said calmly. That student was a little girl from Zenin's family. I saw a possibility in him. You will know this possibility when you see it. The girl was not welcomed in the Zenin family and was even said to be suppressed. The Zenin family was afraid of being embarrassed and did not want to let her go to a high school. Although I can take action, the follow-up will be very troublesome. At this point, Gojo Satoru didn't say any more. So, you want me to take action to prevent those senior officials from saying anything, right? Ming said calmly. It can be said that the most important thing is that Zenin is scared to death by you. Even after hearing your name for so many years, he is still afraid, so I will save you a lot of trouble in going to the meeting. Zenin-ji, who is it? Why don't I have any impression at all? Ming said a little puzzled. That's it, the old man who besieged you last time. The uncle of the current Zenin family head. Oh, if you didn't tell me, I would have forgotten about that old man who was afraid of death. Okay, I know, leave it to me. But then again, you still remember it. Ming didn't take it to heart at all. No way, after all, we have to face those old guys every day. Gojo Satoru shrugged helplessly. The next day, Ming rushed to Zenin's house early in the morning. Looking at the ancient door, Ming kicked it open without any nonsense. Went in. The moment he destroyed the door, many jujutsu appeared around him, surrounding Ming. Ming didn't panic at all and didn't make a move. The Zenin family frowned when Ming didn't make a move. The leaders of the Zenin family looked at Ming with an ugly face and frowned at Mei Mei. Who are you? What are you doing at the Zenin family? You don't deserve to know. Let your family master come over. I'll only give you 1 minute to go quickly. By the way, that old guy Zenin-ji will also come over. Ming said calmly. Asshole, what are you? You have no respect for the head of the family and the elders. Enter. The leader knew that the man in front of him was here to cause trouble. Ming looked at the people rushing up indifferently. On the other side, in a room, there were 2 figures sitting opposite each other, drinking tea. These 2 people are the contemporary Zenin family head and Zenin's acquaintance, uncle and nephew, who are talking. What happened? Zenin asked with a frown. It seems someone broke into the crew's house. The escort has passed. A man dressed as a servant came in and said respectfully. What? Does anyone dare to break into our Zenin home? Zenin's direct neighbor said angrily. Killing intent flashed in his eyes. But looking at Zenin next to him, Tomoya couldn't help but suppress his violent temper. Who is he? Zenin-ji drank tea calmly. Before the villain finished speaking, an anxious voice sounded. It's not good, master. It's unbecoming to make such a fuss. Zenin said with a glare. It's not good, patriarch, the guard. The guard has been defeated. The man's eyes flashed with fear, and dozens of guards were defeated in an instant. What? Who is he? Zenin's eyes widened. There were only a handful of people in the jujutsu world who could defeat the guards so easily. I don't know. He just wanted to talk about meeting the 2 adults. By the way, that person's eyes are very special. The person said lightly. What color is it? Panic flashed in Zenin's eyes. Red. Blood red with 3 magatama. After hearing this, Zenin naturally knew who it was. In this world, only that person's eyes were like this. Although he only saw purple reincarnation eyes at the time, the intelligence said that his eyes were red. And since the last time, he has been investigating Uchiha Mei and knows his intelligence very well, but the more he gets to know him, the more surprised he is. Not only does this guy have many abilities, but each one of them is very strong. So he was happy for himself at that time. Fortunately, he didn't break up with Uchiha Mei at that time, otherwise it would definitely not end well in the end. Without Gojo Satoru taking action, what strength do they have against this monster? Zenin knew naturally after hearing his subordinate's description that that person was Uchiha Mei. Facing this madman, he really didn't know what to do. In his eyes, that person was more dangerous than Gojo Satoru. So he immediately stood up and walked towards Ming there regardless of his appearance. He couldn't imagine that the lunatic would destroy the entire Zenin family if he was unhappy. Seeing his uncle so anxious, Zenin also became interested. He also stood up and followed him. After a while, the 2 came to the door and looked at the man in front of them. He was tall and slender, dressed in black, with black hair, a cold appearance, and blood-red eyes that seemed to have no emotion at all. Zenin looked at the man in front of him and suppressed the panic in his heart. Uchiha Mei, what are you doing at Zenin's house? What are you doing? I need someone. If I remember correctly, it's called Zenin Maki. Ming said calmly. Why don't you want that trash? Zenin asked with a puzzled look on his face. Who are you? Ming said as he looked at the middle-aged man in front of him. I am the head of the Zenin family, Zenin. Zenin said with an ugly expression. Oh, if that's the case, then bring the person out. Ming said coldly. Boy, who do you think you are? Not everyone is qualified to challenge the authority of the Zenin family. Zenin said angrily. Oh, really? Ming said calmly, not taking Zenin's words to heart at all. Zenin knew that Zenin was about to go berserk at this moment, and the people next to him secretly screamed. But it was obviously too late. Zenin's figure disappeared instantly, attacking Ming at a speed that cannot be caught by the naked eye. Not good, Zenin thought to himself as he watched this scene. If this angered this evil god, then the Zenin family would be doomed. It is estimated that Gojo Satoru is the only one in the world who can stop the person in front of him, but then again, Gojo Satoru has always been on this side. How could it be possible to help them? There was a bang sound, which instantly shocked those in the Zenin family. They saw Zenin flying upside down directly next to others. In their eyes, the head of the family suddenly disappeared on the spot, and then flew out upside down, hitting him in the back, on the house. He stood up with difficulty and watched Ming analyze the man in front of him. He did not expect that his figure would be noticed. It's useless. You have no chance in front of these eyes. Not only can I see your movements, I can even predict all your next movements. Ming explained calmly. Upon hearing this, Zenin stood next to him, his eyes flashed solemnly. But he still didn't completely believe Ming's words. You must know that he is very confident in his speed. After solving the puzzle, he flew out again. This is the first time Zenin has been crushed like this. He also knows that with his jujutsu and speed, he can kill even the special cursed spirit. Projection spell. When in use, moving objects within the user's sight will slow down, split into 24 frames per second, and track a set of motion trajectories. Anything touched by Pai Ren's palm may be frozen for a second if it does not move according to the predetermined trajectory. Coupled with Zenin's natural speed and control of timing, he finally felt what it meant to be desperate. Hand the man over, I'm not in the mood to play with you anymore. Ming looked at Zenin coldly. This, impossible, even though she is a loser, she is still a member of my Zenin family. Zenin said. Oh, it seems that I underestimate you. But aren't you afraid of death? Aren't you afraid that the Zenin family will be destroyed? Ming said calmly. Shut up, Niobe, aren't you just a useless person with no magic power? Zeniniki said with a dissatisfied look on his face. Okay, I'm not an unreasonable person. Take me to see that brat. I want to ask her what she wants. If he doesn't want to, then I won't take her. If he agrees, you can't stop her. Ming said lightly. After hearing this, the Zenin also compromised. Just now his uncle said a few words in his ear, Super Jujutsu Master. He is not a fool, there are only 4 Super Jujutsu Masters in this world. He knew who the man in front of him was with his feet. He didn't dare to question the strength of the man in front of him. Not to mention his special status, even if he looked at his uncle's attitude, he knew that the man in front of him deserved the title of special status. And if you know that the person who destroyed a city was not called Curse User in the end, you can imagine the strength of this man. After a while, a girl was brought over. The girl had a ponytail, glasses, and kendo attire. She had a wooden sword on her waist, which made the girl look even more heroic. Old man, you asked me to be full. Zenin Maki looked at Zenin Zibi with dissatisfaction, while Zenin Ji next to her was ignored by her. Let me tell you, Zenin Maki, I am a teacher at Tokyo Jujutsu High School. I am here to take you to the high school to study. I don't know what you think, Ming said as he looked at the girl in front of him. I have great faith in Gojo Satoru's vision. Oh, interesting, she has the same physique as that man, but she still lacks something. It seems that this is the reason why that guy values her. Ming thought secretly in his heart. Zenin Maki, looking at the man in front of her. This man should be with that Bai Mao. The reason why Zenin Maki thinks so is because the two of them have the same temperament in their eyes. She doesn't know why they are so similar even though they are different. They have nothing similar in personality and appearance. If I had to say anything similar, it would be that they are both tall and handsome. What, are you worried? Don't worry, as long as you want to. Don't worry, because no one in this world can stop you. No one can, Ming said calmly, his eyes full of confidence. Only then did Zenin Maki understand why two men with such extreme differences were so similar. It's self-confidence, and the aura of being the only one in the world. He remembered that a frivolous white-haired girl appeared in front of him some time ago, and wanted her, an ominous child who was not recognized by the Zenin family and even her parents, to join Jujutsu High School. She was very excited at that time. She wanted to let the family know that she was not a waste. She had a strong personality and wanted to let the family know that she could still surpass them even if she had no magic power. But thinking of her sister, she hesitated. At that time, the man also said in the same confident tone, "Don't worry, as long as you agree, no one can decide your thoughts. Because I am the strongest." Although she felt that the opportunity was stinky, her confidence in her own strength also made her stunned. He didn't understand who could be so confident. Even the Zenin family, one of the big three sorcerer families, didn't take it seriously. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.